try to get this one. But you can do like serious, because serious, like,
I'd like to reconvene the regular meeting for Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education for May 13th, 2019. Sorry. I apologize for the delay. We actually started extra early and still ran late. I would like to ask you to join me in Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to do roll call. Mr. Lawrence? Ms. Mason?
Here.
Ms. Mayo?
Here.
Ms. Count?
Here.
And Ms. Durkee is here. We're all here tonight. Our first item is I'm going to report out on the action taken in closed session. Item number 1 was 7.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives. And we did exactly that. We had a long discussion and gave direction. Item 7.2, number 2, anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel. We actually had 4 cases. In each incident we gave direction. Item 7.3, the discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employees. Government Code Section 54957B1. We have 2 cases. In the first, we approved the non-reelective or certificated employee, and the second, we received information. 7.4 was actually pulled, so we didn't address that, and 7.5.
Madam President, I move that students 13-19 be expelled from all schools of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, and that student 13-19 may apply for readmission after Friday, December 20th, 2019. Prior to readmission, student 13-19 is required to participate in 20 hours of individual counseling to address anger management and decision-making, complete 30 hours of community service, and show evidence of a successful school experience with no suspendable infraction, earn 30 credits, and have a 90% attendance rate.
First, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, and we will go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Item 7.6, expulsion of student number 14-19 from all regular schools in Mount Diablo Unified School District. I will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move that we approve that student 14-19 be expelled from all schools of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, and that student 14-19 may apply for readmission after Friday, December 20th, 2019. Prior to readmission, student 14-19 is required to participate in 20 hours of individual counseling to address anger management and social emotional support, serve 30 hours of community service, participate in California Offender Program Services, COPS, for anger management, attend MDUSD Saturday workshops for drugs, complete a negative drug test, and have evidence of a successful school experience with no suspendable infractions, earn 30 credits, and have a 90% attendance rate.
Okay, we have a first motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
First and second, we'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Item 7.7, item number 7, the readmission of student number 02-18 to regular schools in Mount Diablo Unified School District, and the board approved readmission. Item 7.8, item number 8, readmission of student number 17-18 into regular schools in Mount Diablo Unified School District, and the board approved readmission. So that was our consent. I just realized I need to back up a little bit. I didn't introduce our mystery guest up here. So, so we have Natalie Soto from College Now joining us up here on the dais. So you're welcome to chime in with any thoughts and comments. Just can't vote, but it might not be so bad. So, but thank you for being here. Okay, we are now on public comment. Oh, I'm sorry, appointment of Assistant Director of Human Resources. Dr. Meyer.
Yes, thank you, President Durkee, board members. I am happy to recommend for the position of Assistant Director, Human Resources, Karen White. And Karen comes to us with experience working as a senior personnel analyst in City College of San Francisco. She also has experience as a human technician for college resources at Chabot Las Positas Community District. She also has experience as a resident and advocate for building futures with women and children, as well as a project policy analyst and an HR specialist and an HR human resources assistant at the University of California, Berkeley. She comes to us with a Bachelor's of Arts from CSU East Bay in Human Development with an option in Adult Development and Gerontology, as well as a Master's in Public Administration with option of Public Management and Policy from CSU East Bay. So I'm happy to recommend for the position of Assistant Director Human Resources, Karen White.
I would make a motion that we approve the appointment of Karen White as the Assistant Director of Human Resources.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we'll go to the vote. And that passes. Would you like to come down and make a few comments? Did they warn you about that?
You'd be embarrassed. You know, it should be.
Are you on? No.
Thank you. It is going to be a great honor to be able to serve this district. I'm a little nervous, but I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to whatever I can bring to make it better, improve. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm so
That's okay, we
nervous.
didn't warn you ahead of time, that's not fair.
I brought two of my guests
Yeah,
from
we're
Chabot
gonna-
Las Positas Community College one from Chabot Community College, Chabot Las Positas Community College, and that's Deborah Dobbins. And then a former Chabot Las Positas, but right now currently at San Ramon Valley Unified School District, that's Lori Benetti. And she spoke really highly of this, and she was one of the ones that said that, you know, if you can get in there, this is the family that you need to be at. And so I'm looking really forward to what we can do together.
Great, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Okay, so now we go on to public comment. And so public comment, the public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District that is not on the agenda, this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. So I think we can get through the number that we have. And I just want to also add, if this is new for you, of having not been to a meeting before, It can feel a little awkward. We follow the Brown Act. The Brown Act says that we can listen. Our job is to listen to you as you share your thoughts on your public comment. We are not supposed to respond, and we won't respond. We might ask a clarifying question, or we might refer you to the superintendent. So don't take it personally if we're just looking at you and listening carefully. So it's nothing personal. So we're happy to have you here and share your thoughts with us. So we'll start with Melanie Johnson. The other thing I want to share with you is you see there's a little box there with lights, and so you get a green light, and then the yellow light is like a warning that you've got 1 minute left, and then when the red light comes on, it's time to stop. So go ahead.
Hello, I'm here to speak on behalf of an issue that has been a lot of talk at my school currently. I'm a senior at Concord High, and for me, I shouldn't really be worried about issues with the school because I'm leaving soon. However, the issue happening is near and dear to me. There are 5 teachers that are being spoken about being moved or straight out fired. And while I am hearing that one of the teachers may be being taken off of that said list, there are still 4 teachers that are essential to our school environment that are being put up to be taken away from our school. This being Mr. White, Miss Morgado, Miss Lacey, and Mr. Shetterly. I personally haven't even had experience with all 4 of these teachers. I can only speak on behalf of Shetterly, Morgado, and White. However, 2 of these teachers in specific, Morgado and White, are very near and dear to my heart. In my sophomore year, I took Mr. White's physics class, and I've never had much when it comes to adult figures in my life. Mr. White single-handedly stopped me from killing myself in my sophomore year because he believed in me, because he cared about me. And I know for a fact, from speaking for 2 other students, that I'm not the only student that has had this experience, even in his short time at our school. I know that White and Morgado in specific have not been in our school very long, so I understand why they are on the chopping block. I understand they don't have the tenure that other teachers have. But in their short time, they have made a significant impact on our school. Without Mr. White, we wouldn't have a physics program, period. And taking him out without any plan to put him back in completely eliminates our physics program. This takes away a big opportunity from a lot of students. A lot of people I know are going in physics-based paths, and that anybody in the future who will want to take a physics-based path will not be able to take the class that they need. Even Miss Morgado, which has only been at our school this is her 2nd year, has been kinder to me than some of the other teachers who have been here for 10 plus years. She brings in extra food for the students. She keeps food in her class for the students who can't make breakfast in the mornings, for the students who don't have time to eat lunch. She's understanding of our personal situations and accommodates them as much as she can while still holding us accountable. These are teachers that are really important to our school environment, and the idea of taking them away when we're also losing 3 teachers to retirement can kill the atmosphere of our school entirely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Henry Torticott?
Turtelot.
Turtelot, sorry. That was an L, so that was a K.
Yeah, it's Sicilian, I believe. Okay, I'm gonna avoid the microphone because my voice is rather loud and it's picking up. Never mind. Okay, so again, I'm a senior at Concord High. Do I hit start? I don't know. It's not moving.
We do that.
Okay.
I do that.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So I'm again a senior at Concord High, and I'm a student there who isn't one for words and doesn't really like to talk. I'm more of a lone wolf. However, in classrooms that I've been where it's been multiple students, and this relates back to teachers being fired, that's 4 of them, 4 to 5, it doesn't really matter to me. It's the fact that there will be a significant loss of teachers, therefore those students who had those classes will not have to go to other classes. By doing that, that increases size of the classroom exponentially, and personally, too uncomfortable to even focus in class when even 36 students who are all being rowdy at once and can't get the teacher to calm them down does not work fundamentally. So by increasing those teachers to 40, 50 students, work will become nearly impossible. Teacher relation to student will become nearly impossible. Not only does that affect the other students in the area, that affects the SAT scores in that area as well. And I don't know if it's affecting other schools as well, but if that is the case, then those students who would be normally transferring over to Concord High will no longer be able to transfer because our school will have not enough staff or enough students to cover those classes or any similar situation. So personally, I would prefer if we kept our 4 to 5 teachers that we are removing and just kind of kept it with a smaller class size so that teacher relations and students like myself who don't like talking can do about their business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Diego Chalice?
Concord High is going through a crisis where students' dreams are being crushed, teachers are being taken away, and opportunities are being stripped from our hands. And I know this isn't just happening to us. Concord High is 1 out of 12 high schools. If this isn't happening in every school, and that is an enrollment of over 8,000 students. Keep in mind I only said high schools. If this is happening in every school, Concord High is 1 out of 51 schools, and this is an enrollment of over 30,000 students. I can't imagine how many of those students' lives are going to change in the following school year. I probably can't explain how this is affecting other schools either, but I can explain how this is affecting Concord High. Concord High has impacted my life tremendously. Without it, I wouldn't be the person I am today. The education in Concord High is spectacular. The English, math, science, history, foreign language, music, college prep, engineering, and physical education departments are all so amazing and have helped so many students. I personally have experience and talked to many others who have experienced these courses, and we are filled with knowledge and ready to garner more and more every day. But this all wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for the teachers at Concord High. We have teachers who studied at DVC, UC Berkeley, Stanford, and etc. These schools are dreams and expectations of many students at Concord High. Take me, for example. I dream as big as I want, and my dream is to attend Stanford, and I know this is an extremely hard school to get into. But one teacher specifically has taught me that I'm capable of anything I put my heart and mind into. I want to acknowledge this teacher because she is one of the teachers that are being taken away from Concord High. She is a product made by your very own district. Ms. Lacey graduated from Mount Diablo High School, went to DVC for a couple years, and graduated from UC Berkeley. She has ideal expectations for many students at Concord High. She is a living image that dreams are possible. But it wasn't just me who she has inspired, it's all of her students, and also students that have never had as a teacher. That includes me. By taking her away, you are taking away a new, bright-minded, incredible teacher that has made the math department in Concord High greater than before, who is willing to open more opportunities at Concord High. Opportunities, in my opinion, is what makes Concord High distinguished. The amount of AP courses and electives are astounding. I wouldn't attend any other school besides Concord High. Sadly, that is all changing. Our only physics teacher is being involuntary transferred. Our AP US history teacher is being involuntary transferred. Our French course is out of the picture. Our Spanish teachers are being reduced from 4 to 3. Drama is gone, and etc. By taking away the teacher, you are shutting down these courses and closing doors for students. How could you let this happen? I know you can't answer that right now, but when will you? I stayed for a large majority of the board meeting last time. After the public comment, we left Monty Gardens and returned to the district office, where Mr. Lawrence said in the board member report that he appreciates everyone for voicing their opinion, but they can't do anything. At the time, no one from the public comment was there. So how are we supposed to get that information? At the time, no one was there to hear it besides me and 2 others. This is where transparency should come into play. If you aren't able to help us, then send us into the direction where where change can't be made. I'm tired of sitting around and waiting for something to happen and no one putting one foot forward for change. I'm here to spark a change, and I know this isn't going to happen instantly, but it should happen before we lose these quality teachers. I refuse to stand by and watch you limit our education to a bare minimum, or put a limit to my opinion with 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Could I ask a clarifying question of the superintendent, which that was an incredibly packed 3 minutes, so congratulations. It was. Could you perhaps share a little bit of the process and where things are at? Since I think that would be helpful for our public.
Yes. What we start with is the number of students at the school. So, for example, we look at the enrollment, and then we work with the numbers that we have within our contract, and we we give the school an allocation of funding for each of the teachers that fit within that contract obligation. And then the schools create their schedules, and within that, they then see if they have any other needs that they have to make sure that everyone can graduate, that they have all of the requirements, which includes physics as an example, but science and math and the different numbers that they need to graduate. As far as if there are teachers that are over that formula, then depending on how many years they have, if they were temporary and some of the newer ones were, then they received a notice, and I believe we can get a report to you, but we had a certain number, and we have had every year, that do receive that temporary notice. But if they are teachers that have seniority across the district, they have a right to another position, and so then they can be transferred to other schools in that same subject area to make sure that they keep their positions, although it is at another school. So it has been very hard for campuses who have worked with those teachers for many years.
Does the board have any ability to dictate that process of which teachers are? Is that purely based on seniority, or does the board have a say in that?
No, it is purely based on the contract and the seniority rules. So first of all, it is via seniority in the subjects that you teach, but then the transfer process is one that is written out in the contracts for each of the labor groups.
Okay, thank you. Hunter? Say your last name. I'm afraid I was going to mess it up. I couldn't tell if it was a V or two L's or whatever, so I don't want to mess it up. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. So I am also a senior at Concord High School. At the beginning of this year, I was in a history class that was ridiculously overcrowded. There was, I believe, 36 students in the class when the classroom could hold about 25. There were students that had to sit on the counters and on the floor because there was so little space in the room. From what I understand, the district then had to scramble to hire a teacher to offset all of these students because it was a drastic fire hazard. And that was just the beginning of this year. Cutting these from what I'm understanding, we are losing either 7 or 8 teachers at the end of this year, making it so that way this problem won't just be limited to history classes or to other classes, or to history classes or other social science classes, but will instead be spread to the entire rest of the school, forcing the school to scramble to hire as many teachers as it can in order to offset the overfilled classrooms. I don't understand why, instead of sending away the teachers that the students at our school love so dearly in order to find a temporary replacement, we can't simply keep the teachers that we already know and love. It makes no logical sense to me whatsoever. Not to mention, again, the whole fire hazard thing at the beginning of the year. While it is unlikely that anything were to happen, given the event that something does happen in the beginning of the year, it happened then something might bad. So it just simply baffles me that this is happening when it seems like such a simple situation to fix. I could be wrong. I am an uneducated student, and I'm only going off of information that I gathered from talking to the teachers with very limited ability to question. But still, this seems ridiculous, and action should be taken to prevent this from happening, to keep the school's morale up, and to keep the teachers that we love so much. Thank you.
Salvador Flores?
Hello, I'm Salvador Flores, sophomore at Concord High School, and I am currently on my second year of French. And I didn't think my high school plan could get any worse than after they announced that they were shutting down the entire French department district-wide. Then I found out that the removal of multiple teachers that I would say are essentially vital to the school are also being removed. Mr. White, the only teacher at our school that is capable of teaching physics, is set to be transferred to a different school. The head of our science department, and the only one capable of teaching physics, is being planned to be replaced with a teacher that's being paid 2/3 for 2/3 of the time, is what I'm being told. And so, when I hear that with the combination of those removal of teachers and the removal of the French department, there's going to be an influx of students in all classes, including the Spanish department. You have kids that have been taking French and had plans to take French, that now have to seek a different foreign language in order to make it to the college they want to. That to me is absurd. And the fact that you're also getting rid of teachers that have at least experience teaching AP classes and probably replacing them with teachers that don't have the same experience is also absurd. I am a sophomore that am currently taking AP Physics. In a way, I went in there thinking I was underprepared. Mr. White helped me. I went into the AP test last Tuesday, and I did not feel underprepared. I felt prepared with every single question that was on there. Now, I told my friends that AP Physics is a good idea for them, only to find out that he is being removed. How do you think I would feel knowing that I sent my friends to a class where probably the teacher next year has no experience teaching? Perhaps it is his first year. It's not a great feeling. Not to mention that I personally am going to AP US next year, knowing that my teacher may not be as experienced either, has also lowered my morale. I would like you to think about that. I believe there's many parents here. I don't think they would be happy to hear that their students are failing a class because their teacher is not teaching them the same way the other would. That they're failing classes because their teachers aren't as experienced. Or that they can't go into a state college, or a college in general, because their foreign language is no longer a part of that department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Claudio Vasquez? Is that you? No. No, I thought I did.
I'm a freshman at Ignacio Valley High School. I played for the baseball team just this past year. We have a petition to install an all-weather pathway that connects the blacktop area of the outside basketball courts to the far side of the softball and baseball fields that goes between the outfields of the softball and baseball fields. Currently, there is no pathway to get to the baseball fields and bleachers without traversing 300 or more yards of muddy, swampy, overgrown, and unkept grass fields. This inaccessibility to the fields and bleachers greatly limits who can attend and be a spectator at the games. There is no way for someone with disabilities to reach the baseball bleachers and attend the games. This is not best practices when making equitable availability of all sports to all players and guests at a public high school. This goes against equity, school and sporting events, and ADA laws. We, the undersigned, petition and make a motion to have an all-weather pathway installed between the outfields of the softball and baseball fields.
And I'm just going to jump on there also. We're here on behalf of, thank you, Ignacio Valley baseball and softball teams.
Can you introduce yourself first of all?
I'm so sorry, Gretchen Bruns.
Do I have a card for you, or if not, can you fill one out?
I can.
Okay.
Okay, so I can't jump on his 3 minutes?
No.
To introduce?
And that's why the statement, you can't yield your time. But you
can you
start over.
Can you just say who we are?
So, you don't need to do that. You can speak. You can speak. Just
Just
I
so
need
when
you
I
to fill out a
afterwards?
card.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you, I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
didn't understand.
no problem.
I appreciate that.
You know who you were.
I just wanted to kind of introduce before we did this.
Okay.
We're here on behalf of the Ignacio Valley baseball and softball teams.
Okay.
This is not all of our team, nor our parents, but as end of school winds up, we are projects and homework and things like that for most of them. The softball coaches, they had an all-league meeting tonight. They couldn't get here, and they're finishing up their petitions also. They'll probably be here at the next board meeting. But both baseball and softball want us to get together as a united front to better our fields and put us on the same competitive playing field as all the other schools. It has been very embarrassing thus far to welcome other teams to our school when we cannot offer a safe playing field, no accessible pathway to get there to watch the game, no safe bleachers for spectators to watch the game, and no restroom facilities available. We've cleaned out the dugout areas as much as we can to welcome visiting teams, but otherwise it's embarrassing to host visitors under such deplorable conditions. What you're going to hear is, after Tony, we have 3 petitions that we have composed, and we'd like to petition the board on behalf of baseball and softball, but again, they will do their own. And what is missing from ours is we are still collecting Berean Christian High School. And why are we doing that? Because they play on our fields as our home team. So all of their players, and then all the teams that they host also undergo the same conditions that we all do. And so what you'll hear is some candid comments from some of the players, as well as composed petitions that we have put together. And so that was one of them by Tony, and now there's 2 more to be read.
So I would just ask you, so we have several cards from, I assume some of these are you. So if you just tell me your name when you come up, and then I can check off, and if you haven't filled out a card, we need you to fill out a card. So who's gonna go next? Just give me your name. Reluctantly, you got pushed up.
Hello.
What is your name?
Michaela Cuevas Blanco. And
gotcha.
I'm a freshman that I just recently played on the softball varsity team. So we, the undersigned parents, guardians, and players of the Ignacio Valley softball and baseball players, are petitioning to replace the existing baseball fields at Ignacio Valley with an all-weather turf baseball and softball field. There are numerous squirrel/gopher holes in the outfield and infield. In the last month, MDUSD maintenance and operations came and finally filled in the holes with sand, which is not an adequate solution. The squirrels and gophers have already dug right through the sand within the day. The holes do not go away and are not going to go away. The ball field is next to the Contra Costa Canal and is home to these animals. The numerous holes are extremely unsafe to the baseball and softball players, both Ignacio Valley and Berean Christians, and any visiting high school team. The numerous ever-present holes pose the constant threat of leg, ankle, foot injury, knee injuries. Due to the nature of the sport, softball and baseball, the outfield grass hiding the holes, there is no way to adequately play the games, baseball and softball. Trying to catch the ball while following the ball with the eyes, and at the same time watch the ground while running so as to not step in a hole or break a leg or any part thereof. The efforts made by the MDUSD M&O recently to fill the holes with sand proved highly ineffective, as the holes were dug through within the day. We understand that there is no permanent fix to eliminate the small animal problem, nor would we expect MDUSD to eliminate the problem, as that would prove impossible. The only solution that makes sense economically and permanently is to replace the dirt and grass field with an all-weather turf. Please consider this petition a proposition as one to replace the existing dirt and grass ball field at Ignacio Valley High School with all-weather turf playing fields.
Okay, thank you very much. Who's next? And what is your name?
My name is Juan Dorio, and we're discussing the problem of the restrooms. So currently there are no restrooms facilities available or accessible for any player, home, or visiting to use. When an away team comes to play at YV or Berean Christian, there's nowhere for any player to use a restroom, either before the game starts, during the game, or after the game. Before their drive home, oftentimes these teams travel from schools over an hour away. These players have often been transported by parents, families, and family members. Also have nowhere to use any restroom facilities. Their only chance to use the restroom is the locker rooms in a gym about 300 yards from the baseball bleachers, across an unkept grass field that is muddy and swampy. These restrooms only have a chance of being open if there happens to be another function at school that involves the gym being open. Otherwise, they are out of luck because the game will be locked. The gym will be locked. There is no available AD restroom available for use during a baseball or softball sporting event at a public event or public school. This is not best practices when making equitable availability or sports to all players and guests at a public high school. This goes against equity, school, and sporting events rules and ADA laws. We, the undersigned petition and make a motion to have permanent restroom facilities be built between the softball and baseball fields.
Right, so Juan, would you please We have to.
I think we had a set of
You have
notes
to fill out one of these
and
cards,
someone
but I don't
else
have one.
backing out and
Okay.
someone else going in.
That's fine, yeah.
What can we do with our petitions, with all the signatures? To you, okay. So, would you guys, and then when we compile our Berean Christian, that's what we would do as well, just bring it in? Oh, great.
So I have, are we down, are you down?
What
So I have
about-
Emmett Lutz, is that part of your group?
Nothing.
I don't know if that's supposed to be.
No, do anybody has a card, do you have any comments you'd like to add, candid comments, anybody? That,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
What is your name?
Emmett Lutz.
You're Emmett.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
So it's not just the fields that's in bad condition, it's also outside the field where we have the batting cages for like just basic hitting off the tee, underhand, soft toss, everything. Even we have a pitching machine too, which we just got fixed this year. It's been broken since our freshman year. I'm a senior. It's been broken for the past 3 years. We actually had to buy the part, find the guy to buy the part, and then we had to have someone else come out and fix it for us. With no help from MDOZ or anything. But the fields, or not the fields, the batting cages that we've been using have holes in the nets, everything, the ground. We actually, when they redid the football field, I think our sophomore year, we went down and picked up turf after asking the workers if we could use it. So we put on underneath, so we can actually have like a nice ground over there. But that's all the nets are in bad conditions. We set up the second batting cage this year after it being torn down a couple years before I went there for some reason, I don't know which. But we put that up thinking that it would be a better batting cage than the one that we had set up, only to find out that one was actually, the net was actually in worse condition with bigger holes and just a mess everywhere. So we've been going off of those two batting cages for the past 4 years, probably even earlier. They've just been in bad condition with chances of getting hurt. People on the canal, even the fence between the canal and our school is really shallow. There have been multiple close encounters, not just from me, but from when I've been there around. So personally, I've hit many, upwards of 10 per close encounters of hitting people on the trail, which isn't that great, especially having a baseball coming at your head upwards of 50 miles per hour. I haven't even been there for half of the times, so I'm expecting a lot more close encounters. I just think it would be a great idea, great investment to fix up the nets.
Thank you very much. So I have Lorenzo. You don't have to speak. I just want, since I have your name in front of you, if you don't want to speak, that's fine, but I just want to give you a chance because you filled out a card. Do you prefer not to, or Okay, I think that's all the information ones that I have. So thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, I now have Lynn Valdez.
Good evening. I'm here today to voice frustration and disappointment with the way things are being handled at College Park, and I'm requesting that you take action. My name is Lynn Valdez. I'm a parent volunteer, and for the past 9 years, I've served on school site councils for my children's schools. I am also a representative on the Parent Advisory Council and am the current president of the School Site Council at College Park. I'm concerned about the climate and the school culture. Parents, teachers, and students are calling out for help and are concerned about what is going on at our school site. They have reached out to school and district leadership, but the message we are receiving is that no one cares. I truly hope that's not true, but the actions of those involved convey otherwise, and we all know that actions speak louder than words. As a member of the College Park School Site Council for the past 2 years, I can honestly say that this is the most frustration I've ever had as a Site Council member. Communication and information is not forthcoming, and this directly impacts the ability of Site Council members to properly oversee the SPSA and related budget. How is it that the College Park Dean of Students was slated to be funded out of site funds, unlike all of the other deans, but that never came to the Site Council? Why did it take a parent's review of financial statements to see that the site was paying for Spanish teachers to teach additional sections, and then insist that if we were paying for it, it needed to be in the budget and mentioned in the SPSA. I think it is time that board members start to talk directly to some of the stakeholders on the College Park campus. College teachers have a staff senate, and representatives of this body have met with Mr. Jimenez and Dr. Meyer to voice concerns and ask for district support and oversight. Unfortunately, nothing seems to have come of these conversations, and as of mid-April, the Senate determined it was best that they discontinue communication with Mr. Alvarez. As an organized body, they are no longer going to communicate with the principal. Does this not raise red flags to you? It certainly does for me. I would implore the board members to reach out to the staff senate representatives and ask them questions and listen to their feedback. In the past few years, and looking at your board documents tonight, we also have some very dedicated teachers who are voluntarily leaving College Park. I don't know if you get involved in exit interviews, but as a parent, I would be very interested in hearing why these teachers are leaving. I'm very concerned about the current culture at our school, and you should be too. Recently, you've seen emails from parents concerned about the validity of the inputs to the master schedule. Specifically, there is a lack of confidence that student preferences are accurately in the scheduling system. These concerns have been raised all the way up the chain, but have seemed to fall on deaf ears. There is a simple solution to help restore confidence, but it seems that no one is even willing to admit that there is a problem. I got involved, and I stay involved because I believe our students need representation, and I believe they deserve a quality education. I'm concerned about what's going on at College Park, and I would like you to show an interest and find out for yourselves what teachers, parents, and students are facing. I am certainly not the only person willing to speak with you, and I would implore you to reach out to teachers and parents within our community. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'm more than happy to meet with you.
Thank you. Very great.
Good evening, members of the school board and Superintendent Meyer. What she said, ditto, ditto, ditto. And my heart goes out to Concord High and Ignatia Valley. We are also losing a very important teacher and a number of teachers. One of them is our Pleasant Hill Teacher of the Year, APUSH. And all the stuff that she teaches, we don't know if that's ever going to be recouped because we don't know if anybody else is going to step up to do what she does. So we're a little pissed off about that. Secondly, I still don't think we are being heard when it comes to the master schedule and whether or not our students are going to be accounted for when it comes to the appropriate amount of classes. My biggest concern right now is a lot of the AP classes are going to be dropped by the students because the teachers they were expected to teach the class are no longer going to be teaching the class. So what is the point of having a class of AP when the person who's slated to teach that has never taught AP? What's the point? So I've been talking to my daughter and some of her friends, and they're all really frustrated and very upset about the way things are going. As a parent, my biggest concern is come August, all the teachers that will have laid off, we need to come back and bring someone else to fill the spots because we have not accounted once again for the amount of enrollment that we have. We have been over impacted for years, and every school year we need to quickly scramble to get a teacher to fill the spot. So if we continue to lay off our teachers or involuntarily transfer them, then we're stuck in the same position where we have a temporary person there who is not going to be part of the culture and does not help our kids. So I want to know if we are being heard. I want to know if someone is actually helping with the master schedule because the course cards in the master schedule don't seem to reflect what's going on. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus at College Park because we have some good people trying to work it out. But I don't think that there are enough eyes on the course cards and the master schedule to give us any sense of confidence that it's being done correctly. Thank you very much. Please work on your projections. They're off every year. I think all of the schools can probably say that's the case. So don't underestimate, overestimate. Give our kids a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany and James Swan.
Hi, my name is Tiffany. This is my husband, James Swan. In May of 2018, I spoke with the administrators of Strandwood Elementary School and the assistant to the assistant of the superintendent regarding my son's enrollment into kindergarten. He will be 6 on July 20th of this year, and I was informed that if he assessed into kindergarten during assessments this May, he would be allowed to enter kindergarten at 6. Given that he has struggled with emotional regulation and impulse control, we decided to give him an extra year to grow and mature in preschool. We included the preschool directors and teachers in this decision and were fully supported given the nature of his behavioral challenges. When we went to enroll my son in kindergarten this year, we were told that this exception is no longer available to my son, and we must enroll him in kindergarten now in hopes that he will receive a continuance next year, or enroll him in first grade next year. These are both unacceptable options. My job as a parent is to ensure my child is set up for success, and I feel that forcing him to begin kindergarten at the end of this school year or sending him to first grade are both options that are setting him up to fail in the school system. We have worked very hard with various therapists to overcome some of his struggles and feel that he is now prepared to enter kindergarten, both emotionally and intellectually. He was assessed for kindergarten at Strandwood Elementary on Friday and met the benchmark at 76%. I ask that you honor the exception policy that was presented to me last year, given that we did our due diligence in working with the school district to ensure proper process. We have correspondence to the superintendent from both myself and my son's preschool director, if that would be helpful.
Thank you, Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I guess you say like father, like son. I went to kindergarten twice when I was a young age and just wasn't mature enough to grasp everything. And we're trying to avoid a big moment in your child's life to say, oh, you're going to kindergarten again, and then we're going to pull you out and then put you back in again. So that was our entire intent of like trying to get this ready last year, and we were given the direction of that was okay. And if that wasn't okay at the time, we would have done something differently. But to be told this like weeks before or the end of the school year, it doesn't make a bit of sense to, I remember it's my entire life saying, oh no, you're going to kindergarten again. I don't want to tell my kid that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Scott Rafferty.
I'll speak later tonight about why I think it's important for you to embrace voting rights and more competitive elections. In the past, I've let a lot of stuff roll off my back that has been said about how convenient it is for this to be a money-making enterprise for lawyers, meaning me. And the consequence has been that the constituents of the jurisdictions have been intimidated from speaking up on their own behalf because they don't want to face the same kind of ad hominem attacks. So I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to tell you that when I was in high school, I worked for Secretary of State March Fong Yu on the floor of the Democratic Convention so that an at-large delegation from this state, 1% margin, would not determine the next presidential nominee, someone who did not win. In the subsequent 15 years, I worked for the 2 Democratic Party reform commissions that identified district elections as one of the key components of the Democratic Party strategy of reaching out to underrepresented groups. In college, I wrote this thesis, I'll send you a PDF if you'd like, anyone, which is now on deposit at the Kennedy Library, and there are 10,000 pages of FBI records and the FBI manual showing the history of the civil rights movement in the 1960s and how brilliant attorneys and heroic black registration workers, in some cases, gave their lives for this right to vote, only to have their cases mismanaged or not investigated at all by the FBI. And thanks to Senator Doug Jones and our own senator, the Civil Rights Cold Case Record Collection Act of 2019 will finally disclose this history, or more of this history than I was able to do, because the FBI was so upset they got the Freedom of Information Act amended to make sure this never happened again. I'll give you some other examples. In 2004, you couldn't register to vote if you were a veteran hospitalized in a VA home. I fought that through 5 appellate arguments here and in Washington D.C. until Obama got in and finally reformed that. And how much attorney's fees did I get? None. I fought so that overseas citizens wouldn't have to sign, and enlisted men wouldn't have to show their superiors and waive the right to privacy as to how they voted, just to be able to fax their ballot back. How much attorney's fees? None. As you know, I would have been happy for you to do this yourself, because there is no case that I researched more thoroughly than this, because I knew all the blowback there would be. It's not worth the $30,000. I'll do twice that amount of work. So again, I ask you to step back and listen to your own constituents. I hope they'll be willing to speak up.
Thank you very much. Willie Mims.
Welcome back. It's been a while.
Been some time, everybody know I have not forgotten about you. It looks like, first of all, Willie Mims, Education Chair of the East County NACP, and I also represent the Pittsburgh Black Political Association. I'm somewhat, I guess I came on the right night to hear all the issues that you have in front of you. First of all, I wanted to address this person who came and talked about the school site plan. So the school site plans, no one who is outside of the school site can dictate to you what programs that you have. That's the law. The school site plan must be approved by the school site council, and the principal cannot sign it. Signed by the president of the school site council. So I want this person to understand that the district cannot make you do anything at all. It is against Ed Code. The other thing is I'm hearing about Ignacio Valley issue again with these fields. Now we addressed this issue. I thought you addressed this issue a couple of years ago about the potholes and the critters digging up holes.
Wrong school.
Wrong
That
school?
one was
Okay.
at Oak Grove Middle School.
Okay, so now it's Ignacio Valley.
They moved.
So
They moved.
So you know, I mean, I gave you, I mean, I told you what you should do. You know, you have coyote, you're
I
a
couldn't
natural
find
enemy
it.
of
I
all these
looked for
things.
it.
And- Okay, so I mean, but
Ace Hardware.
But for the students who came in for complaining, there's something called the Williams Act. Now, every quarter, the school district comes to the board, and they have a policy. I mean, they have they have to look at these schools, and so they come and so they always tell me that there's no complaints from anywhere. And so students, and everyone in your classrooms, on the wall, there should be a posted sign that says the Williams Act. If it's not there, then the school itself and the teacher is in violation of California Ed Code. It's called the Williams Act, and you can file complaints under that. The school district has to address your problem. So I wanted to share that with you. The overcrowdedness and the shortage of teachers, the muddy, swampy, uncut grass, these are all violations of the Williams Act. And I hope that the students have the courage to file these complaints. I don't think you're going to find too many instructors who are going to do it, but the students should do that themselves. Dr. Meyer, I wanted to say to you that I heard that you are going to greener pastures, and so I wish you the best of luck. I also wanted to say that you know, the issue about the layoffs and things, that was a major issue when you first came here, and so you're on your way out the door, and it's still an issue. So I hope that some of these problems can be resolved for the benefit of all who are involved. But again, the students, the school site plans, remember, especially the students, do not hesitate to file these complaints. Because every time I read these staff reports, and they say they have no complaints from anybody, who's filed them? Maybe you don't know, but now you do know, because I'm telling you what you should do. And hopefully the next time they give a Williams report, that I'll have some of you up here to tell them that this report is not true. Thank you.
Okay, that ends our public comment period, and we are now moving on to 10.0, student representatives. So we're happy to have our, right, Yeah, it keeps moving, I guess. Never moves up. Are we missing somebody?
Yeah, I brought my name in the car here to,
Okay. Well, come on down, we'll come back, come down, we'll get you in front of the card. Was it under public comment? It wasn't
Yes, I
under a
wrote down-
specific item?
Yeah, no, well, yeah, but then I found that I cannot talk about that item, but I have other more.
What was your name?
David Pintado?
I have you for 17.6.
Yeah, but I found like I cannot talk about that here because in the agenda. Can I talk about that?
Well, you can talk about it on the agenda item, but yeah, you can't, you want to talk about the health science emergency.
Do you have something else you'd like to?
Yeah, actually,
A
let's.
separate one?
Yeah, but basically, I just want to say hi to everyone.
Hi.
No, I remember you, you're my student. For those who know me, my name is David Pintado. I teach at Mount Diablo High School, the CT Health Science. And I will tell you that we have a new sheriff in town. I don't know if you're aware that we have a new officer in the high school. In the last 2 weeks, he already made 4 students, they tow their car because they were speeding in the school. And I've been addressing the safety of the school very seriously, mainly since Dr. Mayer, at the beginning of the school year, after the massacre in Florida, you released this emergency action plan. And I was waiting for that before that time. And when this plan was released, I dissected the plan and I found that there's a lot of work to do in our school. In the last 3 years, I heard many things. I was witness of many things, but until now, I see that things are changing. And I want to publicly say thank you to Officer Price, which is somewhere, that he's doing a really good job in the school, keeping things in order. Another thing is about because this plan that Dr. Mayer released, we created the incident command, which used to be the safety committee in the schools, and is working. And part of the working is that we talked to the Department of Transportation, the City of Concord, and they're gonna come and do an assessment. They already did an assessment how to improve the traffic safety in that part, the Grand Avenue, which after 3:30 becomes a no man's land. People fly over that street, and we just try to prevent, something bad that might happen in that street. Another topic that I want to also inform the board is that Mount Diablo tennis team recently was recommended to obtain a $30,000 grant to fix the tennis courts, which I'm the coach of the team. And we need the help of whoever is here. Mr. Jimenez gradually agreed to help us with the process, and also Stephanie Roberts. And I would like you to know that I will not stop until, because money that the district will not spend will be through the USTA, which is the national entity that governs tennis. And I'm all over those $3,000. And the last thing I want to inform the school board is that after 3 years of working very hard with Heather Fontanilla here and other people in the CT department, we finally are aligning our CT Health Science in 3 courses, in a sequence of 3 courses. And it's been hard, but finally we think we have what we need to make sure that our health program becomes really serious in Mount Diablo. And we articulate all our courses with either LMC or DVC. And we just try to make sure that our kids get out of high school with skills to actually find a job out there. And with your help, we probably will do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a quick question on the grant? Is that something you're writing or something you've already received?
We have everything to apply, but obviously I'm not an expert in grants. I know Stephanie Roberts is the one that do it, and she knows that, but our principal hasn't.
So it needs to be submitted from Mount Diablo.
From Mount Diablo, and that's where we are. And I asked Mr. Jimenez to help us with that, and we want to keep your fingers crossed for that.
Okay. Is there a deadline to?
I think it is. That's why I'm here, to make sure that, Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. We're closing public comment, and we're going to move on to student representatives. And we'll start with our College Now representative.
Good evening, President Durkee, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Natalia Soto, and I'm the student representative for the College Now program. I would like to start off by informing you guys that we have finished our speaker series. We have concluded our speaker series of various community members coming in to talk about their career and pathways. We have a student showcase tomorrow, Tuesday, May 14th at 6 in our College Now classrooms. Last week we had guest speakers from DVC during AVID. Ms. Basilius from the first year experience came in to talk to us about her program and the benefits of joining. She also came in to talk to us about the FT3, which is the first year free tuition at DVC or any other community college. And we also had a guest from EOPS, and she talked to us about the benefits about her program. And she also talked about the summer class, which is social justice, that we should join. We also would like to inform that one of our juniors won 3rd place in a speech competition at DVC. Our cohort 4 registered for college classes this past Saturday. Also, we have 60 students registered for our College Now program for the 2019-2020 school year. Sadly, for our national podcast challenge, we didn't win 1st place. But we did get honorable mention from the NPR out of over 6,000 entries, which we wrote about mass incarceration, which was pretty fun. We are preparing for finals this week since we have our high school and college finals next week. We have our College Now graduation celebration Tuesday, May 28th at 6 in the Diablo Room. Everyone is invited. We have Dean DeMalanta as our student speaker, and myself as staff chosen. I'm very glad to mention that I've been honored with the position of vice president from WOCA, which is a club I joined in the fall semester. To finish the school year, we finished the school year on Friday, May 24th, both college classes and high school classes.
And I just want to say I listened to the podcast, and as someone who sits on Contra Costa County's Racial Justice Task Force, I thought your information was right on. I thought it was a very good job.
It was so fun to do it.
It's good.
I would agree with that as well. I listened to it too, and it was really incredible how deep you went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello. Good evening, President Durkee, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Hannah Genovan, and I am the ASB President from Concord High School. Okay, so recently at Concord High School, so toward the end of the month of March, we began interviewing possible students for next year's class. We also elected next year's officers, so our sophomore president will be Leanna, I can't say her name, Finison? I don't know. Our vice president will be Mia Reynes. Our sec treasurer will be Alanis Alvarez. Our junior president will be Alexa Houston. Our vice president for the junior class also will be Jade Lopez. Sec treasurer will be Elisa Cacao. Senior president will be Elena Campos. Vice president will be Laura Garcia, and sec treasurer will be Natalia Ramos. For our ASB board for next year, the ASB president will be Robert Santamaria. You guys have met him before. Vice President Amelia Bascom, Secretary Rachel Ania, and Treasurer Dylan Roberts. So this will be the board that will be taking over our positions next year. Unfortunately, Robert couldn't be here. He was at a swim team awards ceremony. Okay, so I'm going to start with like the order of events that have been happening. So, because it's been a while since we've talked. So, over spring break, myself and 3 other students from leadership went to the CASEL State Conference. CASEL stands for California Association of Student Leaders, and every year they hold a statewide conference, and this year it was held in Santa Rosa, and the theme was the CASEL Rapids. So the theme was meant to embody the strength of leadership as a group, hence the phrase lean in together, and it was a really great experience. We were able to bring so many things back to our class, and we got a lot of advice, and we got a clear message from them. It was really cool. Our choir and band programs went to their annual competitions in Anaheim, California, where band placed second in jazz, first in orchestra, and first in symphonic band. Our programs also went to Disneyland and performed on Main Street in the Disneyland Parade, which was a really cool experience, and I know all the band members look forward to that. Our choir programs also did really well. Our ladies won first in the gold program. They took home the gold division. Sorry, the first in the gold division, and show choir also took home second, but in the gold division. So we had our clash of the classes rallies on April 19th with a spirit week full of competition. So Monday was swole versus slump, so workout clothes versus pajamas. Tuesday was meme versus Vine, which is always a popular one. Wednesdays was surfer versus CEOs. Thursdays was 90s versus 2000s, so 90s wear, but 2000s was more of when we were kids, what we grew up wearing. So that was kind of funny to see the throwback stuff. And then Friday was, of course, class
way back with that throwback stuff.
It's far for us. We're little kids, when we were tiny. I don't know, I'm not saying anything. For Friday, we had our class colors. So freshmen were white, sophomores were black, juniors were green, and seniors were gold. And it was a really fun rally. There was a lot of spirit, and everybody was really outgoing. In the end, it was the winning teams or classes were the class of 2022 and the class of 2019. They were kind of tied, and for a long time they went back and forth. And historically, mostly the sophomore classes have won, so when the classes were sophomores, they always win. But that was broken this year, and the seniors actually came out on top. We won fair and square. It wasn't rigged. We actually had 4 teachers that that judged. So they judged based on the noise, how much noise you were making, the ability to follow instructions to quiet down after we were having our time to cheer, and the spirit of the classes. So whether the class was wearing enough class colors and throughout the week, things like that. At the end of the rally, our annual Senior Minuteman Awards were announced, so the nominees were announced. There's 6 awards that these seniors were nominated for, so Outstanding Boy, Outstanding Girl, Citizen, so Citizenship, Scholarship, Leadership, and Minuteman of the Year, which is the big one. And the winners will be announced at the Moving Up Rally on the 31st of May. So I can't tell you now. Later that night was the Powder Puff game, where seniors and junior girls battled it out on the field. The juniors actually won the game, which was the first time in a long time, so it was a little bit of an upset. But the halftime performance was really fun, and that kind of stole the show. So I think everybody was good. Hard feelings, at least. Maybe there was some, I don't know. But on Tuesday the 23rd, the Public Service Academy hosted their annual blood drive, where students and community members could come in and donate blood to people in need in the community. And that was really cool. The Friday after was our annual spring brunch, and we also have a winter brunch at the beginning of the year. But this is an event where our leadership class invites our special ed students in our special ed programs to have a fun-filled breakfast with us that we host. This year was a carnival theme, so we had a bunch of Minute to Win It games that students could participate in, and it was a lot of fun. I think everybody had a good time. There was more food this year, which was always a plus. Also that day during lunch was our annual Spring Fling. This is one of 2 fundraising opportunities that we give clubs, an opportunity to raise money for their institution, or the club's organization that they have. And it was the clubs raised a lot of money selling boba, tacos, fruit, chips, crepes, and a lot more. There's too many foods. That morning as well, we had a special guest, Kim Carr, the founder of #ICanHelp, and she came to mentor some of our students in the ways that they can improve social media presence in the students' lives at our school. And they also learned how to mentor other students so that we could eventually improve our social media presence and make it a positive, safe environment. The week after that, our freshmen hosted a stress management week, or a wellness week, that provided stress relieving activities for our upperclassmen who were preparing to take AP classes for the next 2 weeks. So that's this week and last week. And then that includes bubble wrap, the quad, so they can pop it for stress relieving stuff. Yoga during advisory, which is actually led by one of our students. Free stress balls that they made out of balloons. Art therapy, treats, and then they did chalk art in the quad, which was pretty cool. It's still up. It's really cool. I would check it out if you guys can. National Commitment Day was hosted during lunch on Wednesday, where students recognized their next steps for next year. The seniors did. They were posters where students could write down their college or profession that they were going to be starting next year. and they had several photo opportunities with posters that they can make with their school or profession title on it. They could take photos with their friends. And then later that night we had open house, which was really convenient because they got to see all the stuff we were doing. But the parents and prospective students came to check out our campus, and I think it went really well. Teacher Appreciation Week was from the 6th to the 10th last week. Leadership made door signs for everybody, so like, we appreciate you, and wrote this teacher's name on them, which is something we do every year. And they also were able to make a video for this with students in it for the teachers, which was cool. We played that at their little PFC luncheon thing. And then prom was this past weekend on May 11th. The theme was Deep Sea Dreams, and it was hosted on the Hornblower in San Francisco, which is the boat that we went on, where we sailed around the bay for the night. We had a gender-neutral royalty court this year, and just like last year, so before, in the year before, so each junior and senior class chooses 2 candidates for their grade level, and then they can choose whatever prom they want. So that went pretty well. As our year's coming to a close, I have a few big events that I want to talk about, just mention, because there's tons of stuff that we're doing. Our spring musical, Mamma Mia, has had 2 shows last week and 2 shows this week, so it's Thursday and Friday night. Our annual finals studying session starts next week. It's called Lemonade and Learning, and it will continue for the next 2 weeks, so students can prepare for finals and get tutoring help that they need for after school. They also get extra credit if they attend a certain amount of hours. Senior project presentations will be held after school on the 28th and 29th, and our senior sunset will be on the 31st, and of course the seniors will graduate on the 1st of June. I want to quickly talk about sports, like mention them because there's a lot going on with those. So for track, we have, remember Reina Sanviana, the one that's going to St. Mary's. She actually got first in the 1600 with a time of 4:49. It's a new school record and a league record, and she improved her time by 6 seconds, and that's her personal record. She got first in the 800, first in the 3200, which is the 2 mile, at a time of 10:35. Which was a new school record also, and a meet record, and a stadium record. Sorry, her mom texted me this. So. And it's a 23-second PR, so she included all the details. The NCS Tri-Valley, so there's 2 types of NCS. So the first one is the Tri-Valley one, and then the second one would be the final NCS. So she got first in the mile. Her mom also said 3rd straight year. First in the 800, and she didn't run the 2 mile this time. Yeah. And then another student, Ariana Dargan, who's a junior, who's on track to getting a signing for a school, won the DAL SLB triple jump and long jump, and 5th place in the 100 meter. At NCS, she won the triple jump and long jump, and got 11th in the 100 meter with the PR in the 100 meter at 12.67. Yeah, sorry, she includes a lot of information. Maggie Saltero, who's a senior this year, got 3rd at DAL also, and both in shot put and discus, and qualified for Tri-Valley. And she got 7th in the Tri-Valley in shot put and qualified for NCS. This weekend, NCS will be the second round will be Reina, Ariana, and Maggie, so they're all going. And then swim, Enya Castaneda got 32nd in NCS, which is pretty good, especially for swimming. That's a big pool that they choose from. No pun intended. And then softball got 15th in their season, but that average was over 500, so they were starting their playoff games in Heritage. And then next playoff game will be this week. And then I quickly wanted to say that I really enjoyed speaking at board meetings this year, and I appreciate everyone sitting through my really long reports. Robert Santa Maria will do an amazing job next year, and I can't wait for you guys to see all the amazing things he will do. Thank you, and that's all I have for today. Team Go Minutemen.
Thank you very much. It's been great having you.
Good evening, President Durkee, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of the Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. One last time, my name is Claire McGinnis. I am the ASB President at Northgate High School.
Hi, I'm Arthur Yan, and I'm the next year's ASB President for Northgate High School. I'm excited to work with every one of you guys in the future.
And over here we have Eden Broussard, who is going to be next year's ASB Vice President, and Ashley Burke, who's going to be next year's ASB Secretary Treasurer.
Okay, let's get started. Since we last met, our first ever Parents' Night Out at Walnut Acres Elementary was Friday, April 19th. The Northgate leadership collaborated with the Walnut Acres Elementary Student Council to plan and execute this event. There were a lot of fun activities for the kids, like we played Incredibles 2, right? And we did a lot of rock painting and watercoloring, and we did some friendship bracelets and hair beads. The night was a huge success with a lot of positive feedback from our parents, their parents, and they even requested to have it every month. So I don't know if people can do that, but also on April 27th, we had our first Donate to Dump, where people could dump all their junk at a cheap rate, and the prices varied depending on how much they dumped. We also offered a pickup service for an additional fee. This event was also very successful, and we were able to get the dumpster donated, so that's good. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, so students coordinated and created a coffee talk on Monday, and we provide like pastries and coffee. On Tuesday, we sent letters to everyone, and we also had an ice cream social during lunch, and just to show a small token of our gratitude towards our amazing teachers. Right? Last Thursday was our annual Red Cross blood drive. This year, it was set up in the gym, and we got over 50 donors. Last Friday was our first ever lunch on the lawn. The all-school picnic was a fun way to enjoy lunch, and the weather was really good that day, so students brought blankets and lawn chairs to enjoy the event, and teachers came along with us.
So on Saturday, May 25th is Senior Ball, which will be at the Exploratorium on the pier in San Francisco. In addition, we'll be able to explore and use the interactive museum, and there will be a fireworks show over the pier. And ticket sales end tomorrow, and they're all online, and you must have your contract in, or unfortunately you cannot go. Our baccalaureate is June 1st, and our graduation is June 2nd, so this is a Saturday-Sunday event. And while seniors seem to be coming down with a really bad case of senioritis, we're still striving to finish strong. Our senior project papers were due April 29th at 7:45 a.m. on the dot. And we also have our 8 to 10 minute senior presentations, which will be May 27th and May 28th to a panel of 8 community members. And then we are also on the home stretch of AP testing for the year. Sophomores, juniors, and seniors alike are almost finished with this 2 weeks of ultimate stress and last minute cramming. Thank you, Crash Course. But we also know that all our hard work will be rewarded, and our amazing AP teachers have gotten us this far. So I'd really like to encourage you guys to come to Yoshi's in Oakland on May 20th at 8 p.m. to watch our award-winning jazz bands rock the stage while enjoying some tasty food. You can buy your tickets online through the Bronco, the Music Boosters. And then we're also having our dance production show. So tickets went on sale on Monday in the Forum, and then the pre-sale tickets were $10, and then the tickets at the door were $12. And the dance production show will be in the Little Theater May 15th through May 18th at 7 p.m. This is a big event. I know a lot of people that go multiple times. It's so amazing. It's a real tearjerker. And in addition to sports, so our track and field this year, we have 13 people going to the Meet of Champions. I was told by Adam Van Uden that it's Tokyo 2020 for them, whatever that means. And this week is Moving On Up Week, which will say goodbye to our seniors and hello to the next grade level. There will be summer music played every day at lunch and a healthy fruit popsicle sold from Guanatos. And then the Spirit Days of the week include Comfy Day, which was today, Mathletes versus Athletes, which was tomorrow, College Wear Day, Career Day, and then Neon Day on Friday, all leading up to our big Moving On Up rally on Friday. So each class will symbolically move up to the next level of grade bleachers with the class of 2019 in the middle. And then the graduating seniors will walk in with the graduation walk song. And in addition to fun games that do not scratch the gym floors, we will have a dance and band performed show, and then we'll have our senior slideshow, which is a real tearjerker. I made sure to send a lot of freshman year photos. Gosh, we're so young, the braces and all. Ready? And just for one more time, it's a great day to be a Bronco. This is really such a pleasure. Thank you guys so much. This is an amazing environment. And I know Arthur Yim is going to do big things, and I look forward to seeing what he has in store for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's it, I guess. Well, I want to just say we wish the best to all you seniors going on. We won't see you again. We'll look forward to hearing about your next phase of your life, so if you have a chance to let us know.
It's always the best part of the meeting,
Yeah.
to hear our student reports. You've done a great job this year, and we're going to miss you.
Okay, now we move on to board reports. We'll start this way with Ms. Count. Would you like to start?
Sure, I'll keep it short today. Let's see, I was able to go to some wonderful events in the last couple of weeks. Congressman Mark DeSaulnier had a conversation on race held at DVC, and I thought it was a really great panel, some resources that we may be able to tap into as a school district as well, from the Haas Institute for Equity and Inclusion. And also was able to attend the Equity Advisory Committee. Very impressed with the work that's being done along with Ms. Mason. And looking forward to really highlighting a lot of what they're doing, and look forward to seeing what more they can be doing, and we can all be doing together, really, as a whole district on the issue of equity. And along those lines, also the PBIS awards ceremony, showcase, PBIS showcase. Was really great to see the real in-depth work that some of our schools have been doing to really make sure to be having positive opportunities for all of our students in terms of their behavior and their opportunities at all of our schools, and to make sure that we're really treating everyone with respect. The Academy Awards, thank you, Medea, for organizing a wonderful event. I think everybody enjoyed it, whether we were board members or parents or teachers, and the business partners that came as well. It's just so wonderful to hear from and hear about all of the wonderful people in our district that are doing amazing things for our students, and our students that were there as well. And then thank you to Ms. Mayo for your support as we attended with, actually we're about four, I don't know, many of us were at the CCC SBA event, and I was elected to be VP of programs for the coming year, so I look forward to helping plan opportunities for not only our school board, but all the school boards in Contra Costa County together, so that we can be learning and sharing the best practices about how to improve our schools. And lastly, May 22nd coming up is the big education funding push, if you haven't heard about it already. It's organized not only by CTA, our teachers, but also CSBA, our school board members, PTA, all of the groups are coming together to go up to Sacramento and lobby our state legislature, who's responsible for the majority of our school funding, to make sure that it really is full and fair funding for all schools. I believe some people are organizing buses and things too, so please spread the word. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Mayo?
Yes, thank you. On April 24th, I had the opportunity to attend the East Bay Leadership Council Healthcare and Workforce Development and Education Task Force joint meeting. The discussion was the California Future Health Workforce Commission final report. There was a discussion on the jobs that would be necessary in California and how to achieve that. So it was a great presentation. And the Contra Costa County Health Services Department also showcased the launch of their strategic planning process. I have been very appreciative of the Contra Costa Health Services Department, or County Health Services Department, and believe they've provided a lot of service to our school district. So I hope that you'll participate in their strategic planning process should they provide an online survey. So I'll keep everybody informed about that. We attended the Career Pathways Showcase on April 29th, and that was a great event. Our high schools featured many of their career technical education programs, and Dr. Meyer presented a panel discussion on that. I also had the opportunity to go on the Special Education SELPA Legislation Day in Sacramento, and Dorothy Lambert, Janine Payne, Natalie Ivankovich, I wrote down a different name. Erin Alter, Hillary Shin, Dr. Agili, and myself participated in this event. We personally visited with Rebecca Bauer-Kean and Buffy Wicks, and we spoke with education staffers for Grayson and Glazier's offices. It was a privilege to participate with these great ladies. We also snuck in with a meeting with Nancy Skinner as well. We spoke about, we had an excellent handout that was prepared as a leave behind with our representatives, and we spoke about personalize the story for Mount Diablo School District around certain pieces of legislation, which included AB 428 Medina, which would equalize funding across all SELPAs statewide and add preschool students into AB 602. We talked about AB 236 Garcia, which is family empowerment centers, and then AB 1172 Frazier's, which was protocols for monitoring and oversight of non-public schools. With one amendment, we agreed that the oversight or there should be an individual on site that has an administrative services credential, but we were not necessarily in agreement with the legislation where a behavioral analyst would always be assigned. Some of these sites may only serve 6 individuals at the site, so there was a balance around the question around the needs of each site. And then we also discussed the impact of STRS and PERS pensions with each of our legislative groups, because we appreciate what the governor provided in his budget in January, and hope that could be expanded further, because it affects not only special ed but districts statewide. We also discussed the credentialing barriers in California. For example, an out-of-state expert that is credentialed in another state is not eligible to teach in California without extensive expense or time in going back to school to get their credential. And maybe there's another way that we can ease that credentialing process, because there are many people in Contra Costa County that are highly qualified to participate in special education. We had the CSBA PAC fundraiser on May 4th, and I appreciate the fact that many of you were in attendance there. And the goal for the PAC fundraiser is full and fair funding for California education in 2020. The CAC meeting was on May 7th, and Mrs. Sachs presented an LCAP presentation, and Brian Casson and Natalie Ivankovich discussed the dispute resolution conference as well as the SELPA Ledge Day experience. On May 9th, Ms. Count and I attended a presentation at the County Office of Education on transformative discipline. It's following the the philosophy of Dr. Ross Green, who has a website, livesinthebalance.org. This was paid for by 32nd District PTA and was hosted by the County Office of Education. And I think it's important for us to all be aware that Nancy Skinner has proposed Bill SB 419 that was approved in the Senate by a vote of 30-8 on April 23rd, that would eliminate suspension of students for willful defiance, and that would be K-12 until January 1st, 2025. So school districts will need to find different ways to work with students that are having challenges in classrooms. And this seemed like an opportunity to look at some different information around that. I too want to thank Medea for the Academy Awards, in particular Anita and Sylvia Chantigir, Linda Ortega, and Charisse for their efforts. I also want to thank our Mount Diablo Print Shop, TIS, and audiovisual teams for their expertise in setting up for the evening and providing materials for us. And Dr. Meyer did an outstanding presentation. 4 of our trustees were in attendance, as well as 2 former board members, April Treese and Sherry Whitmarsh, who've had an opportunity to work with Dr. Meyer. And two others sent their greetings, Barbara Oakes and Lynn Dendler. So they were thinking about you on that night. Pleasant Hill Mayor Ken Carlson was there, as well as Concord Mayor Carlin Obringer and Guy Moore, who was the founder of this event 7 years ago. So it was a great event. I did go to the Mount Diablo music education event in Todos Santos Plaza on Saturday. That was fun. I always admire the courage of student performers to stand up in front of an audience, especially in that sort of environment. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. at Olympic High School, there's the CSEA spring event, spring reception, and on May 16th at 6 o'clock at Mount Diablo High School, we have the Bond Oversight Committee meeting. So with a tour of Mount Diablo High School. So I hope you'll join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
I won't repeat all the meetings that we went to together. I'll just mention that on Friday, I spent all day at a meeting for the Northern Waterfront Development that was hosted by Supervisor Burgess and Glover, talking about the development of the waterfront, which is all the way from Antioch to Pinole, and the jobs that they hope to create here. Was the main focus of it was the job piece, and they were bragging on Pittsburgh and preparing their students for the future. So I got up on your behalf, Heather, and talked about our Pathway program, and that we are also working to create kids that can work in the medical field and the technology field, and that they want to partner with us. We're ready to partner with them at any time. So that's my report.
Mr. Lawrence?
So I'm always envious of my fellow board members because they're able to go to a lot more things than I do. So and I appreciate their efforts to represent us and keep us informed. So I'm just going to speak tonight to, I think it is a testament to our teachers in our schools, the students and families that spoke out tonight, because they see so much value in what is being done in our schools. And I think it's difficult for every student, every parent, every employee of our district to see what we're being faced with. And I think, as my fellow board members have talked about tonight, our quest to receive more funding. And so I think people have heard that our school district, as well as every school district in California, is receiving more funding this year. However, the increase in funding we've received has been more than offset by our increased costs to pension contributions, as well as special ed funds and other things. And so we're actually having less funds to spend on students and spend on teachers and staffing and all the other programs that you hear about than we've had in past years. And frankly, I just think it's disgraceful for the 6th largest economy in the world to be the 41st state in funding education on a per pupil basis. And it affects the future of every single one of our students, and it affects the future of our state, the state that thrived and has provided an economy that fuels our nation and fuels the world based on companies across the board. When you think about companies such as an Oracle, a Cisco, and HP, these were founded in California. When you talk about a Facebook, a Zoom, and Twilio, these are the companies that are driving our economy. They're founded here in California, and yet we will not have these same type of companies if we do not support education in the state of California. And so this is the single biggest thing that I think faces our state as well as our nation. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So I'll try to be brief. I'll just Ms. Mayo and Dr. Meyer and I attended what's called the Pleasant Hill Education Task Force meeting. So it's an effort for, again, our board and this task force for Pleasant Hill, which consists of 2 city council members. It's a long-standing practice for a while. So it's an opportunity to kind of talk about issues in education or challenges in schools in Pleasant Hill very specifically. So I appreciated that opportunity. Look forward to continuing those conversations. I also attended Congressman DeSaulniers' forum at Diablo Valley College on race. A highlight for me was that he had Congresswoman Bass there from Southern California, and she's got such a long history in civil rights, and really was fascinating to listen to, so I appreciated that. There was what was called a Health Career Pathways Open House at Mount Diablo Adult Education. It's a partnership with several agencies. It's a really great collaborative thing, and it's specifically addressing the shortage in certified nurse assistants because skilled nursing facilities now have a higher requirement of ratios, and so there's a huge shortage. So interestingly, one of the students, they have since had their graduation, that I chatted with was a very recent graduate from Ignacia Valley High School's Health Academy. So there's that connection as well, so it's really great. So hopefully more and more wonderful things. They all pretty much have jobs lined up. And hopefully it gets them on a good pathway going forward to other jobs. I attended the ribbon cutting at the new playfield at Mount Diablo Elementary, which was very exciting. The best part was standing there waiting for them to actually cut the ribbon, because I don't know how many kids were
Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds of little people, but still a lot, ready to just run right over us to get to the field. So it was a very nice event, great partnership between the Clayton community and Mount Diablo Unified School District, and so it was a nice event. I attended the Career Pathway Showcase at John Muir Health. I just want to thank John Muir Health for hosting it again, and the Concord Chamber is a big partner, supporter of that, and thank Heather Fontenelle for doing a great job coordinating once again. It's very fun to talk to the students and look at their enthusiasm for the work that they're doing in their classrooms. I also attended CSBA PAC fundraiser dinner. I'll come back to that, and the CAC meeting. Thought it was a really informative presentation on alternative dispute resolution, so that was interesting. And of course the Academy Awards was wonderful, and I just want to reinforce that I thought Dr. Meyer did an outstanding job of a presentation of what's her work here in Mount Diablo Unified, and things to feel really good about, so as well as all the great staff that we were recognizing. So kind of piggybacking on Mr. Lawrence's comments is the board has sent out a letter to speak to the issues that he's talking about. You might, if you step back and think about, every time you pick up a paper, there's another school district that's having challenges and funding issues and potentially teachers going on strike or whatever. It's happening all over the state. And there's a common core problem, is just as he described, is being 41st in the nation in per pupil funding. And just as he described also, technically the dollars have gone up, but really the dollars have gone down. And we're flat funded, and we are also a declining enrollment district, so that makes it more complex. So we really, if you can go to Sacramento and be part of a big rally, that's wonderful. But it's really very simple, which is what we say in the letter, and hopefully people receive the letter, is to call your local representatives and just say, all you have to say is, it's not okay for California to be 41st in the nation. There's no excuse for that. It's a long-term problem. If we don't fix that, things are going to continue to get worse and worse. So I just really want to encourage people to do that. And I'll just mention we are continuing, sadly, but optimistically continuing the process for the superintendent search. We've, I think, completed a couple of days of the firm meeting with numerous stakeholder groups. There's lots of information on the website. There's an online survey. So we really encourage people to take part in all of that in any way shape that you can. So, and then I was fascinated. I think I saw that late about the northern waterfront, because the Contra Costa Workforce Development Board was very involved. They've been talking about this for years and years and years and years. And Mount Diablo was part of a Diablo Delta Corridor project at one time with East County and Mount Diablo, and primarily because of Bay Point. And so we really, I'm glad you spoke up. We really should be. It's been a couple of years since I was out there screaming, but so it's good to keep us in that conversation. We were actually part of that effort too. So thank you for doing that.
So I was actually there representing the MAC, but
yeah,
I'm going to speak up on behalf of the board. So I did.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes my report, and we'll move on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Meyer.
Thank you. Wonderful presentations tonight. Thank you all for that. Okay. So in Kelly Perkins Ignacio Valley classroom, they celebrated Mother's Day. And so each of the students made bonnets or hats and had a luncheon with their mothers. And so the mothers were invited. So this is a picture of a young man who came with Kelly to visit last week to come into the class, into my office. I was very lucky to have them visit. And you can see he loves his mom. All right, as mentioned, as you've seen before, this continues to be really related to many of your reports and your discussion of legislation and funding, and just a reminder that it is our imperative, our moral imperative, to prepare students for success upon graduation or upon completion with high expectations and a strong, rigorous instructional program. So as mentioned, oftentimes you all mention it, and I have some photos. The volunteer on the left was a volunteer at Bancroft in the dual immersion program, and her picture is just a picture of joy and excitement. And I don't even know if you can quite, it needs an uplight or something, but it was just a beautiful photo of her accepting her award for volunteer. And here's just one of many tables where people were recognized and celebrated. So thank you to Medea for your hard work, and the committee that was behind that, many of you up here. And because I know it's a lot of work, it's kind of like a wedding. And so you can see this young lady here was obviously a bride. More pictures from that. We have some of our team here celebrating Carmen Garces, who received an award as administrator, and she was very excited about that and did a great job speaking to it. And then we had our students from our program at Serendipity who provided the food as part of their culinary arts pathway. So we were very excited. It was really delicious as well. I'm kind of getting hungry remembering it. What time is it? Oh, dinner time. Okay. Some of the other wonderful things we've had, Marathon, who has been a great partner of ours, they provided a field trip for the students at Fair Oaks to go see the USS Hornet. And you can see here they are on the right on the inside. And so it's pretty exciting. That looks like student engagement. You can see they're very engaged. And here, I think this is right before they took off flying the plane. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, there they are, and it was a wonderful opportunity for them, and all different kinds of exposure of this sort really teaches them a lot, and they'll remember it forever. Wanted to also say the Academy Awards were a great opportunity to thank our teachers for the week and the day of the teacher, but we also celebrated nurses, and there was a wonderful photo montage that was done on our Twitter account, where many of the school nurses were there and celebrated, and you could see they decorated their doors and did different things for them at the campuses where they work. So here's just one of them with a thank you sign, and so wanted to share that with you. Also wanted to share that many of our schools participate in a program that provides STEM opportunities for our girls, and it's called Girls on the Run, and it starts in elementary school, middle, and I don't know if there was a high school there. I saw a middle. And so they went to Chrissy Field, and they participated in a 3K, I believe, and they train, and they have that as part of the after school program. And so it was a wonderful day, and this was something not last weekend, as you can see from the clouds, but the weekend before. So it was a great event. Also, as mentioned in board reports, we had our Positive Behavior Intervention and Support, PBIS, showcase. And it was a kind of like a science fair where the schools share what they've done and the work that they're doing towards creating a positive culture and environment on their campus. And I did also want to say, and I don't have a picture of it, but the Career Pathway Showcase was a great opportunity at John Muir. And it also was kind of like a science fair with science. And it was, I'm teasing Heather, but Heather Fontanella did a great job. The robotics clubs were there, and they had just come back from competing nationally, and they had all sorts of the different pathways that we have, our health pathways, our art pathways, and certainly our computer science pathways, and they each set up a booth where they shared with the community the work that they had done. So that was a wonderful event as well. And so lastly, I just want you to look at this picture. This was taken by one of our vice principals, and it's the students of Cambridge Elementary, and their faces are so cute. And I wanted to, as I was going through, looking through my personal Facebook, I was kind of scrolling through the last few years to look at, all the fun things that I share with my friends. Not that you're all not my friends, but my friends from back home. And so I found this clip, and we're going to go ahead and show it, but this was something that also happened at Cambridge, and it's kind of timely. If we could get it up here. And you may have seen it.
Eduardo Corratilan. Iraíz Velasquez, and I'm a senior at Ignacio Valley High School. If you failed something, I always encourage you to redo it again, because if you don't, it will later come back to you, and you really don't want to do that.
So always try your best in anything you do. Try your best. Just because you failed something doesn't mean it's the end of the world or something. When you finally give up, that's when you fail. So if you never give up, you always keep trying, always hit the top.
Have an open mind and a positive attitude, and just asking their teachers questions. With the answer, you'll gain knowledge, and knowledge is power. And with that power, you can go on and transform the world.
Everyone had chills. I had chills. It's so exciting to see how excited the grads are, but also how excited our elementary school kids were. It's something that you can't really recreate.
Promotions coming up. It's a big deal at this school for the community. The parents make a huge deal of promotions, so seeing this kind of set the stage for that. And I think the messages that the YV High kids gave were spot on about hope and effort and learning from mistakes. And I think they hear that better from, not peers necessarily, but certainly from students instead of from adults in their lives.
For the kids that started at Cambridge, for them to get to come back and share that story with the kids, and then for Cambridge and Ignacio Valley and I Can Help to all put that up on social media is so important, because it really just spreads the joy and the passion that these kids have.
I will post in social media, in Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and I will also hashtag I Can Help, and I will help.
I want to say I know some of our other high schools have done that as well since then, and the high school I taught at, where some of my old friends are, they've started doing it now as well, so it's spreading. So just wanted to share that to keep it going. So great job at our schools.
I forgot to mention that at the Academy Awards, board. So first of all, I want to thank Anita for giving me the honor of being able to introduce Dr. Meyer. It meant a lot to me personally. And she also got an award as a exemplary superintendent, so very well deserved.
I was competing against all of the superintendents in Mount Diablo.
Minor point, minor point.
Qualified.
Okay. Okay, we now go to 5. We're now on 13.1, which is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. So before we ask for things to be pulled, I'm going to, we have a public comment card from John Ferranti. You're going to speak to the whole consent agenda? Okay, great.
Good evening. So, as you so aptly stated, items listed under consent agenda are considered routine. I do not consider bond measure items to be routine. Bonds are not routine. Maintenance is routine, but bond work is not routine. There are a number of bond-related items on this consent agenda. They don't belong here. They belong in the business agenda. And I would ask that you move them to the appropriate place. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Rafferty, your card indicated 13.1, or do you want to speak to 17.1?
17.1, I was
Okay.
just apologizing for that.
That's okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, are there any items that board members would like to pull?
I would like to pull item 13.15.
Are we going to move the ones that were requested by the public?
Yeah, the board member wants to ask me the.
I think we should.
Item, yeah. So which, do you want to name them?
So 13.5, 26, 13.27. Is it all of them?
It's 1330, isn't it?
Excuse me, President, we've had a request to just have those repeated. We can't hear them. Thank you.
1325, 1326, 1327, 1330, 1331, 1332, and 1333.
But we also had 1315. We didn't catch that one. Yes. There. Okay. Did we get them all, Mr. Ferranti? Okay. Can I have a motion for the rest?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda, removing 1315, 1325, 1326, 1327, 1330, 1331, 1332, and 1333.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second, and we'll go to the vote. and that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, so now we are on the items that were removed from the consent agenda. We're starting with 14.1, formerly item number 15, one-year renewal of contract with Illuminate Education for, is that IO? Is that, it's not IQ, right?
Yeah.
IO assessment, I should say it's not IQ, right? IO assessment licenses and K5 report card software licenses for 2019-20 school year.
So my question on this was simply the source of funding. It says that it's local control funding formula supplemental funds of $186,000. As this is report card software, I'm not clear as to how, I believe supplemental funds are supposed to be directed to students in particular subgroups, and how that's improving their achievement. I can share that this particular report card is part of assessment, and in the past we have used supplementary funds to provide a way to pinpoint and communicate with families about report cards, and to have a specific standards-based report card, and so this particular program assists with that.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 14.1, one-year renewal of contract with Illuminate Education.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? We'll go to the vote. Okay, and that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. We are now on 14.2, previously item number 25, Mount Diablo High School Serendipities Networking Update with Decotech. This was a bond-related item.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 14.2.
Second. Okay, we have first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote.
This also says that the funding is the CTIG grant, so is that different than bond funding?
Yes. Yeah,
Just clarifying. Okay, thank you.
You were erring on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Very good. Just wanted to clarify.
And that passes 5-0-0-0.
Becomes one item that doesn't need to be funded with bond funding, which is nice.
14.3, item number 26, Trimark purchases for Mount Diablo High School Serendipity Remodel Project.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 14.3.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Item 14.4, formerly number 27, Supplemental Student Transportation Independent Service Contract Amendment Number 1 with Hop Skip Drive Incorporated for the period covering January 11th, 2019 through June 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 14.4.
Second.
I have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote. passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Item number 30, contract between Mount Dabo Unified School District and Norman S. Wright Mechanical Equipment Corporation to manufacture / assemble and deliver heating, ventilating, and air conditioning equipment.
I make a motion we approve the contract between Mount Dabo Unified School District and Norman S. Wright Mechanical Equipment Corporation.
Second.
We have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote.
Did Mr. Ferranti wish to speak to this?
I'm not against these things done. I just think they need to be.
Just want us to do our job right.
And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. 14.6, item number 31, independent service contract for project inspector inspections for various projects located at the Central Services Complex to Alicia Jensen Construction Inspections.
Make a motion we approve the independent service contract for project inspector inspections for various projects located at Central Service Complex to Alicia Jensen Construction Inspections.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote.
And those were both already board approved as well, right? As it says on
Bring
there.
them to back.
The, under funding, I'm sorry, that the funding was already approved.
Oh,
Under funding, it says 74,800, program 7615, measure C, board approved June 25th, 2018. So this is just the implementation.
Well, so yes, when we approved a group of things for an estimated total, and then it was understood they were going to come back for each, as they were ready to actually implement each specific contract for approval for exact dollar amount.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Item number 32, independent service contract for project inspections for Strandwood Elementary School and Westwood Elementary School DePaul Lucido inspection services.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 14.7.
I'll second that. Okay, we have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. And we are at 14.8, previously item number 33, award of bid number 1839, purchasing warehouse roof coating to Premium Roofing and Waterproofing.
Madam President, I move the board approve item 14.8.
Second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, we are at 16.1, district organizations at regular board meetings. A single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation following the consent agenda. Items are limited to those which are informational. Cards. We don't have any cards if anybody feels so inspired. Okay. All right, moving on to our business action agenda. 17.1, resolution of intention to transition its election method and proposed timeline. And we do have a public comment card, so should we start with that? Scott Rafferty.
Thank you very much. I do hope the board can embrace this idea of moving to district elections for a variety of reasons. Just to
provide some context, it really has become very unusual in our country and even in California to elect from multiple member constituencies. There are only 3 unified school districts that have that are larger than Mount Diablo in the state, which elect at large. You are larger than any city that elects its city council at large. And this makes it very difficult for people to run for office. I know you said you've tried to encourage people from Concord to run, but it takes a lot of money, a lot of celebrity or some other connection to be able to mount a campaign effectively, and it means that elections can be less competitive. And so I would say this is really about the voters. It's not about you. It's not targeting any of you, and it shouldn't be used to give any of you an advantage. It's also, I don't believe in bringing suits where there isn't a predicate for it. I mean, there are other jurisdictions. In Martinez, for example, doesn't have as large a Latino population. It's very evenly distributed. It's not something you can solve with districting. Here there are discrepancies, and that's important. You're not a Section 2 jurisdiction, at least I don't. You're not with 5 members. With 7 members, I'll have to do a little more checking, but I don't think so. So you're not in the same category as San Ramon Valley or West Contra Costa. You have a lot more flexibility. And I'd like to work with you. I'm hoping we can get your constituents to speak out about how they see their neighborhoods, because I don't want to be the intermediary, which is this role I've been in other jurisdictions, because there has been a lot of subtle and not so subtle pressures. And some of these minority communities are reasonably, justifiably reluctant to speak out. And I will advocate vigorously when they do not. And I am in communication with them. I'm sorry that it has become kind of so challenging, but that's the way things are, at least in our county. It is unusual, and I know that some of you were here in 2003. I was not living here. Our county, and I checked with your attorney, he doesn't know of any either, but no other county committee has ever denied a petition, even an informal petition like the West Contra Costa to district. I mean, it's just the norm. Most county committees are saying you've got to do it no matter how small you are, and you've got to do it yourselves and save that $30,000. Well, you know, it's not a big part of your cost. You're going to have more from your own attorney, but I'm going to stick with this process and be whatever help I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rafferty?
Yes, yes.
I found your presentation earlier very interesting, and I'm kind of surprised with your background. My issue isn't trying to restrict who votes, but to me, this is just another kind of gerrymandering, like the Republicans do, to control who votes, which goes just the opposite direction. So it's not always that the ends justifies the means. To me, it shouldn't be okay for us to change borders for people to vote because we think it's for a good cause, when you see people changing the way people vote in other states for not such a good cause, to actually suppress who votes. And it's actually waiting, and since you're so involved in this, I'm surprised you didn't know that it's actually waiting to be heard right now in the Ninth Circuit Court in California for that very reason. And we have seen in other states across the country those gerrymandering maps being ruled illegal and thrown out of court. So I guess I'm just frustrated that we can't wait till they figure out if this is really legal or not legal. And if they don't win at the Ninth Circuit Court, their intention is to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. So my concern is whether you think you're doing it for a good cause or a negative cause, it should be something that's fair and not done for whatever political reason. And I'm not saying you have a political reason, but that's just where I fall on it. So I hope to look into that. I don't understand why we should have to do it until the court has made a decision, but we will start moving down the timeline and doing everything appropriately, because if that's what the rule says, that's what the rule says. But I appreciate hearing about your background tonight.
Well, I don't think the prospects of it getting overturned in the Ninth Circuit are very good. I have to tell you, after the last 2 Supreme Court appointments, who knows? But as of last summer, Justice Alito, of all people, said, yes, you can consider race as a factor in complying with Section 2. So I don't think that that's going to happen, but if it is, we should act all the more quickly, because at least in California, I think we all believe that each racial community should have an equal voice. And this is not about gerrymandering. This is the anti-gerrymandering. I mean, I've been fighting gerrymandering in San Ramon Valley and in West Contra Costa, and I forgot to mention, by the way, that when I filed a lawsuit in West Contra Costa, 4 days later I said, I haven't spent the $30,000 yet. How about this map and this sequence and $20,000? And that's exactly the map they got. And I hate to tell you, but their lawyers did better than I did on that, and it was a lot of money. And I will work with you and get this done economically. I believe in that. I think you really should. I'm happy to talk with you personally later, but I'll give you more history. It's transformed this country. And if you're a white person, I mean, I just visited with my cousin, Eleni Kounalakis, this afternoon. The Voting Rights Act and the Immigration Act that got rid of the quota on Greek people were passed the same week. And it transformed our country. And it's been the most effective legislation that we've ever had. It's changed our country, and I don't think we should be going back, certainly not in California.
Well, I'd be happy to sit down and debate with you how it's changed, how elections come in this country, and why the court is overruling some of them, but we'll have that conversation later.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have another, 2 others, right? Oh, no, 17.1, sorry. 17.1, and then Willie Mims on this one.
Yes, Willie Mims, I'm not intending to get into this discussion tonight, but I, compelled to step up here. I think, when you mention or cite gerrymandering, you have to look at the history of the impact that gerrymandering had on people of color.
Yes,
specifically
I agree.
The African American subgroup. But in terms of the election process, I think that when you look at the Mount Diablo Unified School District and the size of the district itself, basically, historically, there has been one community that has been kicked to the curb. And that community is the West Pittsburgh, Bay Point area, who has not had any representation until Ms. Mason, you got here. But prior to you, that community, that section of Mount Diablo Unified School District was left to fend for themselves. And so they really had no representation. I mean, everybody's supposed to represent the whole district, but the folks in that community felt that they were not being fully represented by the board members, and that they would spend the majority of their money and funds toward this part of the school district. So I think that, when you look at, I can't say that it's gerrymandering. I think that it would be more right to say that you're having specific communities with representatives from each of those communities, which would be much more fair through the election process, especially when you have such a huge district as Mount Diablo. So I'm somewhat in agreement with what the gentleman just talked about. But gerrymandering has impacted negatively, historically, the African American people. And so I don't think that you're using that correctly.
Well, that's the term the courts are using for it. I'm just saying. It was a quote from the Ninth Circuit Court.
Well, sometimes the Ninth Circuit Court can go off the hook too. But especially if you don't look at the historical issue of gerrymandering.
Well, that's why I'm concerned, because of the historical issue.
Well, the process, the concern that I have is the map drawers themselves, the folks who participate in the drawing of the maps. That's where the problem. So if we have a fairness in that process, I don't think that we will have any concern. But that's what the issue is. Who's on the committee? I mean, who's on that the committees or commissions to draw up the maps? And so it should be representation, fair, and across the board. Which consists of all aspects, and a diverse community of representatives to participate in this map drawing process. so that one group won't feel that they've been kicked to the curb. Thank you.
Well, as being a member of that group, I do have to say, in due respect to other people who have served on this board, there have been times when the board has been more partial to our community and times when it hasn't, regardless of who sat here, so. Isn't that always the case?
I hear what you're saying.
I told myself it's better just to stay quiet, but I can't do that very well. So I'm just gonna try and be clear here. I don't think we have a choice. First of all, I think certainly when you look at the intent and the spirit of the law, I personally couldn't argue against that. I wouldn't want to argue against that. I understand the intention, and I totally support it. But I do think what Ms. May says, I think sometimes these things, like, you get unintended consequences, I care mostly that you have people on this board who care deeply about education. What worries me is when we, for whatever reason, we make it easier. I mean, all of us ran, right? And so, we know what it's like. When you make it easier, and I don't mean we're supposed to make it difficult for people, but when we frame it that way, to become a school board member, then people sometimes become a school board member for the wrong reasons. I hate seeing school boards being used as a stepping stone for another elective office. To me, it's a very unique, important position. And I'm very suspicious of people that want to get on a school board because they've got their eyes on the state assembly. And, we know that happens, and it doesn't mean they went into it that way. But I feel I'm a lifetime educator. I'm a parent. I've lived in this community for many, many, many years. I care deeply about what happens in this school district, which is why I'm on the school board. And I care about, I worked, as you know, I worked in it, and I worked mostly in Concord. So I don't live in Concord, that's true. But the folks that I served, worked closely with, were mostly in Concord. We served all over a bit. So I'm unique maybe in that sense, I'm not planning on being on the school board for the rest of my life. So it's not a personal thing for me at all. It doesn't affect me personally. But I care so much about not getting folks who don't really, again, just want to use it as steps. So we definitely need to be more diverse. I totally agree with that. But I just think as we proceed, I won't be any part of any kind of gerrymandering. I'm totally opposed to it. I won't contribute. I won't participate in something that looks, that does that. But at the same time, you could end up with, so whatever we call them, we call them districts, I guess, a region within our district. That's only one vote. I'd rather see all 5 members care deeply about the Monument Corridor, care about Bay Point. That's who I am. So, you get one person that, is elected by that community, and so they, of course, are going to try to serve that community well. It almost can set up a dynamic that the rest of them just have to worry about their folks. That's not why I ran for this board. I love Pleasant Hill, I love living here, but I'm not here to represent Pleasant Hill, I'm sorry to say. So I just think we need to proceed cautiously. We need to do it, in my view. I don't think we have, it doesn't make sense to stand up and say, no, we don't want to see good representation. We can't say that. I would never say that. But I do think we need to proceed. And I think as we talk about and do encourage, I'm always encouraging people to run, to make sure they understand what it's about and what they need to be about, so that all students in this district are served by every single board member at this table. So, not that I have strong feelings about it. So, anyway.
And I want to thank Mr. Rafferty for his years of work in civil rights areas. I do believe that it's important, and my ancestors suffered because of civil rights as well. So it is important work, and it's something that I value very highly. I feel very strongly, like you do, about the concern of polarizing segments of our district in this process. And I do admit it will make the election much easier. Maybe I could run for another 20 years, who knows, But the part that where I was offended was the fact that, it was as though we didn't work hard. And I know that all of us have walked precinct after precinct in this school district to meet our voters and engage them. I also know that in the last 8 years, there have been 3 candidates who won a board seat by spending less than $500. It is possible in Mount Diablo. And and that excludes this last election in 2018. I also know that except for a few exceptions, my donors contributed less than $100. So, you know, we're not all, what do I want to say? We don't have a money organization to run our campaigns. And yes, we've had support from generous donors, and I thank them for that. And I do believe that any time that we haven't done our jobs, we run the risk of not being reelected, or we run the risk of there being a recall. And there was a recall in Mount Diablo School District where 3 board members lost their seats. So everything has happened in Mount Diablo. We're a microcosm of the state. And I guess that's what makes it fun and interesting and great to meet our voters when we knock on doors. So with that, unless Ms. Crond wants to say something, I would move that we adopt 17.1, Resolution of Intention to Transition Election Method and Proposed Timeline.
Do I get to say anything?
No.
I'll second that. Go ahead.
I think there have been some very astute comments this evening, and I would just add that the process of districting does not equate gerrymandering, and I think that it can, but I mean it doesn't have to. And I think that the key to that is this being a very transparent process, and this board hearing from our community and weighing the inputs that look at a variety of factors and race, socioeconomics, geography. I think there are a multitude of things that go into what the districts look like, and it's our obligation and our duty to do that in the best manner possible.
I'd just like to say I ran for school board to represent the whole district, and my hope is that moving forward, regardless of how our members are elected, that we all continue to hold that value of representing the whole district. You know, I spent my entire morning this morning in Pittsburgh in a meeting to collaborate with the city of Pittsburgh, right, to represent us there. There are so many wonderful possibilities to partner with all of the cities in our schools, and to ensure amazing educational opportunities and choices for all of our students, regardless of their zip code. And so that's just what I wanted to say, that I hope that regardless of who specifically voted for you moving forward, that that all of us do remember we are here for all of the students in the whole district.
Okay, I guess we have a second, right?
We do.
Yep. Okay, all right, so we have first and a second. There's no other comments. We'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, item 17.2, 2018 Measure J Citizens Bond Oversight Committee appointments. We have folks that have come forward to participate, and we appreciate that, and we'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I'm a little frustrated, so I'm going to alter the motion. I move that the board appoint Gina Haynes, John Ferranti, Jay Bedicare, Michael Langley, Alex Hernandez, and Dennis Chow to serve on the Measure J committee. And yes, I will explain myself. I made this statement previously, and it has nothing to do with Mr. Lloyd's, Mason's credentials. It's that I believe that there's a perceived conflict of interest when a board member's spouse serves on our committees within the district.
That's okay. Conflict of interest actually would indicate that I'd get some financial gain out of it, which I won't. But I find it interesting here we're talking about equally representing all of the district. And I guess, I don't know, possibly one of those people are from Bay Point. I don't think so. But that's fine. We don't need to have Bay Point represented.
I wasn't speaking on behalf of a particular territory. So.
Well, that's just how it falls out though.
Can I ask one question on Dennis Chow, just looking at each of the applications? I didn't see what city he lives in, and the box able to attend quarterly meetings was checked no, and there was no personal statement. So I'm just not sure if we're missing a piece of that particular application.
I thought he had listed Concord on his application, but I don't have the answers to the other.
That's where Helix Drive is then, yes.
Yes, Helix Drive is in
Okay.
Concord. No,
Good.
yeah, it's off of,
Oh, you know what? It is checked off on the next form. It's just not written under address. Thank you.
But I don't have answers to the other questions you raised.
So my understanding is that and this is like the beginning of the committee, and that we still have the opportunity to add folks. And so I actually do think it's important to have someone from Bay Point on the committee. And so if this group is voting the way it is tonight, then I think we should actively seek someone else from Bay Point.
Can I make a comment on the not attending meetings? So the rule right now, and has been with both Measure C bond oversight committees, is that if you miss 3 meetings in a row that are unexcused, you are booted off of the committee. So if Mr. Chow cannot attend regular quarterly meetings, if he misses 3 in a row, then whoever the chair happens to be has the right to boot him off the committee.
I'm wondering if that was just a typo.
Well, that's something that
Seems
needs
like
to be
an odd
found
thing to
out.
check
but
off when
yeah,
you're playing.
that's very strange.
Yeah.
so to your question, I would suggest you amend my motion to include Mr. Mason. Then we would vote on adding Mr. Mason, and then pending that vote, then we vote on the motion as a whole. That's the way you do it in Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Correct.
And Mrs. Mason can make a motion to add Mr. Mason to my motion.
You don't want him? Your loss. I've had him for 40 years. I'll keep them all to myself. Truly, it's your loss because he's a really smart guy and knows all about that kind of stuff, but no worries.
You have a motion on the floor. If you would like to add Mr. Mason, you can amend my motion to include him. So I'm trying to encourage you to do that.
I hear you. You're not getting it.
Can we just vote? Because it's like almost 10 o'clock.
Okay, all right, let's just vote on that motion, please.
They approve the amendment?
And so as I understand it, and to make sure Mrs. Maher has what she needs, the motion is
Everybody but Lloyd Mason.
It's on here, it has the specific name.
Even the person that might not come to the meeting.
Go ahead, Mr. Lawrence, I didn't hear you.
No, I have it on the.
She's got it here.
Yeah, the yellow.
We don't
have the
Oh, you're sitting here. You probably have to log it back in.
Yes.
We just don't have to.
The motion says the name specifically.
No, it was right, Debbie. His just booted him out.
It's just
Now he's back in.
There, I just still don't have the vote.
No, neither do I.
And that passes 5-0-0-0. Okay, 17.3, joint use agreement between Mount Diablo Unified School District and the City of Walnut Creek for recreational use of facilities, Northgate High School tennis courts.
Madam President, I would like to move that we approve the item 17.3, the joint use agreement between Mount Diablo Unified School District and the City of Walnut Creek for recreational use of facilities.
Second. All right, we have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to all who put a lot of time and effort into making sure that that collaboration was completed.
To echo that, so thankful to staff, but I think it's important to point out that sometimes things that seem very simple and easy require diligence and making sure we don't have unintended consequences, that we have a clear delineation of responsibilities, and so that's why sometimes it takes a little longer, but I think in the end it serves us well. So thank you to Mr. Schenke, Dr. Meyer, and the rest of staff for helping us move this forward.
Okay, 17.4, excuse me, annual contract with Curriculum Associates for iReady K-8 and high school software licenses for 2019-20 school year.
I make a motion we approve the annual contract with Curriculum Associates for iReady K-8 high school software licenses for 2019-20 school year.
Second. So I've received a couple of emails about it. I guess I would like to hear more from Dr. Meyer on the cost of this versus the value given our situations.
We have a brief presentation to share the information about it.
And truly, we did not do this on purpose with our outfits this evening, but thank you for getting the memo. So we're all in Caribbean blue is what we've decided. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us up to talk about the iReady software. So this contract before you is an annual contract, and we were asked to kind of provide a little bit more information about the different components that are included in the program, as well as its impact, how has it been embedded into Mount Diablo's instructional program at different levels. So just to orient you to the components of iReady, the different components actually included in this contract support the monitoring of student success, provide support for teacher instruction, as well as we utilize the information at the district office level. There are three major areas of iReady that this contract includes: the diagnostic, which we refer to as a universal screener, an online instruction component, as well as tools for instruction. And I'll just briefly share with you about the different pieces. The diagnostic is administered 2 to 3 times a year in the content area of math and reading. It's usually about 45 to 50 minutes per session, and the data is used to identify those students that fall into a tiered level. If they are at grade level or approaching, that would be tier 1. If they're in need of strategic support, that would be tier 2. If they're in need of intensive support, that would be tier 3. And we utilize that information to take a look at how our different student groups are progressing. Our low-income students, English learners, foster youth, students with disabilities, as well as our underserved student population, such as our African American students. online instruction. Our instructional lessons delivered to students based on the diagnostic results. So teachers utilize this data and the lessons are individualized, and they're actually students receive instruction online. The students, based on how they perform, they start at different levels of instruction with the lessons, and the software gradually increases the level of rigor when certain lessons have been passed, showing that they've got mastery. Based on the research, the recommended time to be involved on these online instructional lessons is usually around 45 minutes a week. It's a way that some students receive some differentiated instruction in order to help fill some of those gaps that they may have. Which leads us to the third part, which I think is the most exciting, which is more of the tools for instruction, which is more of a blended model. So with tools of instruction, the lessons are on concepts and skills that are either delivered to the whole class or small groups of students. These tools are to be used in a blended model where the teacher uses the lessons with students in small groups, and then the lessons are reinforced sometimes with online instruction. This can also be very helpful with targeted instruction for students. And whether or not you group them in small groups, individual or large group, it's a way that you can blend the two pieces together.
So we are in the 4th year of using iReady, and each of the components that Jen talked about on the previous slide takes a lot of time in terms of professional development, practice, just time to look at the data to really implement it with fidelity and precision. The implementation of our diagnostic happens at the beginning of the year, and this diagnostic serves as our universal screener, identifies and allows educators to support students in those tiered levels of instruction. And really that is a critical component of the California's new instructional framework, sort of new, multi-tiered systems of support, as well as response to intervention and instruction. The results that teachers gain from these universal screeners are allow them to differentiate through either the online instruction and or the tools for instruction, sort of a blended approach. And lastly, we also use this as our, this data is our 4th criteria in the reclassification process.
Shannon, can I ask, if we did not have this, what would be the 4th tier?
It would be up to the LEA. It would be a local assessment of some sort. It could be the CASP. However, I don't think that would be a good idea. It's a rigorous assessment, and to reclassify students using this is as rigorous, but it's looking at it through the lens of, do they have the skills in terms of concepts and skills to be successful in academic courses? And it's taken more often than the CASP.
Okay. So can I ask what grade levels you said 2 to 3 times per year, 45 minutes each.
Yep.
What grade levels are required to do this assessment? And are they doing both reading and math? So it's actually...
Yes. So 1st through 8th grade are required 2 times per year for all students to monitor their progress. Students that need Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports will do it a 3rd time. And then our English learners do it 3 times as well.
So there's a new thing available from the state, I believe. It's called an IAB. Can you explain how that free tool?
Yes, we are actually using those free tools. They stand for the interim assessment blocks. They are standard-based short assessments on bundled standards at grade levels. So if you're giving the 6th grade expression and equation IAB, you would be assessing 6th grade standards. You can use them out of grade level, but it's not a system where it disaggregates data to the level of identifying laser-like focus on what students need to close that gap between where they are and where they need to be. They're a great tool though.
Okay, and then there's something called an EADMS.
EDIMS, yes. So EDIMS was actually the first company that owned Illuminate, which we just approved earlier. So EDIMS was the original owner, then it went to iOS, and then Illuminate bought out basically any other data warehouse in July. So EDIMS is actually a data warehouse. Inspect is an item bank within that system that allows us to design standard-based assessments.
So there are standards-based tests that are called EDIMS that our students are also taking?
No, they are, EDIMS would be, so it's now iOS. It is the platform in which the students take these assessments. Each platform you can purchase an item bank, and we have purchased an item bank called Inspect. So we develop common formative assessments based on grade level standards to give our students at the end of the trimester, based on those standards that have been taught over that instructional cycle.
Okay, so I guess as a, like, from the parent's perspective, I'm thinking about how many different tests the students, like, so a first grader who's just learning how to use the mouse and whatnot, takes the iReady test twice. They also take those formative assessments that you're talking about?
They don't start until third grade.
Okay.
Third
So
through
the
eighth
third
in high
grader,
school.
for example. Okay. And then they also take the CASP.
The CASP is taken once a year, yes. So if you look at the kind of umbrella of the assessments, your diagnostic through iReady is your universal screener. That is an adaptive diagnostic. So it starts out at grade level standards, and based on students' understanding of the concepts and skills, it adapts way clear down to the lowest level it could. So a fifth grader performing 3 years below could have a result on iReady that says their instructional zone is second grade. So based on the data, teachers can use that data to use the online lessons that are provided for that student based off the diagnostic, and or those teacher-led online tools to help that student increase their performance. So that's the diagnostic and universal screener that you kind of feed into an RTI or an MSTSS system, so you can identify where your supports need to be. A formative assessment would be any assessment that it could be informal or formal, but it's based on a very short period of instruction, a standard, 2 standards, to see if what we're doing in the classroom is working for the students in terms of learning. Trimester common assessments are assessments that are at the end of the trimester, and those gauge a larger band of standards that have been identified as priority standards at each grade level. So that is kind of the umbrella, and if you look at the beginning of the school till October. However, we are looking at using formative assessments heavier than the summative, because that is where the data allows you to change what you're doing in the classroom immediately to increase student performance. A summative is a summative, and sometimes it's looked at as an autopsy, and we want teachers to use formative assessments to adjust instruction as they go through the school year, rather than in October when we've already gone 45 days of school. Okay. So, with that said, I know this is kind of hard to read, so I'm going to read it in front of me. So iReady is also listed in our LCAP as one of our metrics/indicators for Goal 1. The data that you're looking at in front of you is reading for grade 1 and grade 3. We're looking just at the grade 1, you see 2 different bar graphs. The one below is kind of a fade of colors, and that represents our fall diagnostic. Our fall diagnostic is given the first 3 weeks of school, and this is the diagnostic that sets that instructional pathway for those individualized lessons in math and reading. Above that is the words "an academic year to date." So as we said earlier, most of our students that are tier 1 or on grade level only have to take the diagnostic twice because they need less monitoring. So this data set includes all students that took it in January and February, which was diagnostic 2, up to basically last week, because it's academic year to date. So any of those tier 3, 2, and 3 students that have had to take it based on their CASP schedule and other things happening at their school. It's a flexible schedule, so some might be have overridden their second score, and we might see their third score in this data set. At any rate, you can see that there are 3 colors, and the colors actually mean quite a bit within the system. Green represents any student that is either early, mid, or late grade level, performing at grade level. Your yellow indicates 1 year below grade level, and your red indicates that students, those groups of students, are performing 2+ years below grade level. So as we look at grade 1, we can see that in the fall we had 16% on level. We've increased that to 47%, and we've decreased those students needing Tier 3 support from 13% to 3%. Looking below in grade 3, reading, the layout is the same. In the fall we had 48% on grade level. We have moved that up to 64%. And we've reduced the students in Tier 3 supports from 30 to 18. I also want to mention before we look at math that not only do we have this in our LCAP, but each site has a goal specific to their Tier 1 students and Tier 3 students based on these diagnostics in their school site plans. The second data graph is very similar to the first, with the exception it is math. You can see that in first grade, we had 10%, and we've increased it to 38% on grade level. And we've reduced our students in the red or Tier 3 area from 18 to 6%. In grade 3, we've had a huge increase. We have 49% on grade level, and we've reduced the Tier 3 from 30% to 14%. So the next 3 graphs are actually graphs created by Curriculum Associates, which is the creator of iReady software. They presented to our principals in early March on their mid-year data review to kind of give them an idea of where their schools and grade levels are performing. There's a lot of data on this graph, but a couple of highlights is it's based on performance and growth. So the bottom line, or the x-axis, is 0 to 100. That is the performance mark, where the median student performance is relative to the national norm, where the 50th percentile is the national median. Okay, so that middle student. Now on the other side is your performance going up, and that is, growth, growth. Median is the median percent of typical growth differentiated by fall placement. So the typical growth is an average growth for a student at that placement and grade within 1 year. Okay, so with those the performance and the growth axis, we have 4 quadrants, and the first quadrant is your high performing high growth, which is your quadrant 1. That is where we would like all of our grade levels and sites to be. Second favorite place to be would be quadrant 2, where you have a low performance but high growth. It's a different kind of question you're asking of your students. Quadrant 3 is your low performance and low growth, and quadrant 4 is high performance but low growth. So keep that in mind as we look at, we're going to look at 2 different data sites, and this is performance by growth by grade, and this is in the content of reading. So you can see that grades, all of the grades 1 and 5 are in the high performance, high growth quadrant, with the exception of 1st and 5th that are in the second quadrant with a low performance but a high growth, which is also good. Also note that the national percentage of typical growth at 18 to 19 weeks is usually 50% in research, but across the 5 to 7 million students using this in the United States, it's 70. So that's why you see that dashed line. And the good news is that all of our grade levels are above that 70% median mid-year growth. Okay, the next one is just a different view of performance and growth by school, and this is for math. you can see it tells a little bit of different story. These are representing all of our elementary and middle schools, each dot is. So if we look at quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, we still have the majority of our schools in those two quadrants. I will also point out that instead of 70, it is 60% median typical growth in math across the U.S. And the quadrants go down to the 50th line. So you can see there's actually 3 dots, 3 schools that are right on that line of quadrant 2. And there are 4 schools that are below that line that would fall into quadrant 3.
So to close, we just wanted to share some feedback from the field because we have heard from parents and teachers and staff members, questions about iReady. And so we also wanted to go out and ask some questions about what do folks feel, are those helpful pieces about iReady. And as Shannon's been working with the elementary schools and the middle schools, as well as actually the high schools, something that we haven't mentioned is at the high school level, the iReady is utilized for reclassification as well as to provide supplemental reteaching as well as remedial support for students that walk in several years behind in grade level. So these are just some quotes that came from the field, from teachers as well as administrators. One, the last one really kind of was something that came from a group of teachers at a particular grade level that they feel like they've seen the universal screener and that diagnostic, but really they wanted to dig into those other components that they could really utilize those blended lessons as well as that online piece in order to have the best of both worlds, teacher instruction as well as some reteaching or some opportunities in order to practice. So this was hopefully helpful to give you a little bit more insight into iReady and how it's being utilized in a download. And we're open for additional questions.
So, first of all, thank you. And it's obvious that the two of you and the rest of staff have put a lot of thought into this. I think my questions, there are a couple different lenses, and it's one, first and foremost, is we look at every aspect of our budget. $700,000 is a large expenditure, and is this the absolute best way that funds can be spent? To follow up on Ms. Callan's questions, are there alternatives, whether it's provided by the state or things that, as testing with the state has changed, that are more applicable, or is this still the best tool? Third, I think that not to be presumptuous, but I think as parents of kids in the district, at least one of my concerns is around test fatigue and the multitude of different tests that we provide to students, and that is something that I think I hear certainly from my kids, but other kids, teachers, and parents. So those are just some of the questions that I have, and I think this addressed them some, but it's still, for me anyway, I'm just sharing with my fellow board members, I don't have total certainty on the answers to those at this point.
A question just on when I look at the pricing, it looks like the high schools that are using it maybe differently are, a couple $1,000s per high school. But when we look at the elementary schools, that's when we're looking at like $20,000 per school kind of thing. So is there a way, are there some of these things that we're using more than others? Like if you were to say, use the Free State, IABs as your, diagnostic overall, but then you would use iReady as your more intervention piece, would that be which piece of the costs would that reduce the cost? I guess is my question.
So in the elementary schools, we use the diagnostic, which is a separate license. A diagnostic just gives you basically the results of the academic status of a student. And it is what it is. It's just a measure in time that tells you where your students are and what they're deficient in or what they already know.
So that diagnostic is what's $20,000-ish?
Yes, that is, I think it's $399. It's based on the enrollment of a school, so they do enrollment by Pop ADA of the school, and then that's just kind of a site license at the elementary. So since we do math and reading at the elementary, we naturally do the online instructional piece, which is an added piece to it, but that is where the differentiation comes in for those students that need that the support of your teacher, not only during the classroom, after school, before school, at home, tailored to where they can work and increase their performance almost one-on-one. The high school prices are a little bit different because the lessons only go up to 8th grade. So when we use it in high school, we use a diagnostic first, and then if the diagnostic indicates that that student is performing below at an 8th grade level or below, we purchase the instructional piece because we know that will support them in closing their achievement gap. And in a lot of the high schools, we just have the reading for the reclassification. Olympic and some of the Horizons, we have started looking at the math to see if that is something that they can use as well.
So I'm just gonna say I'm interested in both of your professional opinion. Because this is, I mean, I think, I don't know how helpful or constructive it is for us to cherry pick one thing, you know what I mean? Because I think, so what would happen if this went away? Would you?
So, as a former teacher.
And just tell me really what you believe.
Well, I really think that if you look at CD's model of their instructional framework is now the multi-tiered systems of support on the social emotional learning, the academic, and behavior. So anytime you have an instructional framework that has tiered levels, you have to have a universal measure to identify where your students fall within that system. And it's really the educational environment that has to build the responses to each of those needs. So without a universal screener, you don't assume that your students come into the next grade level proficient in the previous standards. You do have the CASP assessment in certain grade levels telling you if they're meeting, not meeting, etc. But they really don't pinpoint the concepts and skills that the students are missing, so you can backwards map those standards to provide instruction to close that gap.
So I guess the follow-up question is, do you feel like it's being used I guess obviously we're all concerned about the cost.
Absolutely.
And so you feel like it's really being used, and I guess, to its greatest benefit, make it worth the cost, and then secondarily, why would I get emails from people saying, from teachers saying it's not worth it? And I know, I'm not saying it's 100, I don't want to state it, but.
Go back to your first question, because that I just left my head, but I had an answer for it.
So I get, you're the experts in this, so you're able to present conceptually how it works. And I guess my question is, do you feel it's really being implemented with that kind of integrity?
Thank you, that was the key. So all those components listed on that first slide, those take probably the first year we had this, it took us a year to get the completion rates for the diagnostic, just to start looking at the data and making meaning. So we passed one hurdle of the implementation, but the next piece was to really start looking at the data and building capacity from the administrators down to the classroom level in terms of what does that data mean? What does that mean for my site? And how do I start using it? And having those conversations with my teachers and my students and my parents. So that took a while, and then we added the next layer of looking at the online instruction. How do you gauge if your student was placed appropriately on the diagnostic, or did they rush it? Did they take too long, or was it basically valid data that it sets this instructional cycle for students to use for the next 16 to 17 weeks? And so that just comes with a lot of time that there's not a lot of professional development, and really driving down how the diagnostic results really is the working data that you need to use at the beginning of the year, and monitoring those lessons of a pass rate of 70%. What's their time on task? What's their usage? We know that 45 minutes per content area is what research says makes the software work. So we're trying to all at the same time increase all of those and build capacity at the understanding of the why. So I really think that this software has a lot of potential. I think that it's just it's taken a lot of time to develop the capacity in driving it.
Something else that maybe I can add is it's nationally normed. So we're talking millions and millions of kids. And when folks ask the question, isn't there something else out there, our teachers are phenomenal with regard to the different formative assessments that they create. But each of our teachers are phenomenal at developing an individual formative assessment that they give their students. And so when we were originally looking, actually I wasn't even in the district, I was in a different district that was looking at this, and one of the pieces that I know has continued is the fact they do take a look at it nationally normed. And so, and they have, you know, the science behind it and this or that in order to create assessments where it's supposed to predict student success if they're able to master the standards as they progress. So also the disaggregation that it provides with regards to how all of our students are achieving that instructional equity that we've been talking a lot about. So is it the only thing out there? Probably not, but at the same time, it's something that is being utilized in many, many districts in order to address a variety of needs, in order to really firm up their instructional cycle. And that's, I think, what Shannon is really referring to.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think you guys have clearly been working on this for years and brought it into the district we were maybe one of the first or an early adopter at a time where the state didn't have these kind of things.
We both were in the same district where we used the diagnostic piece, and we left at the same time, so we're not sure how that went, but we started with the diagnostic, and we soon learned that the diagnostic alone is just another measure. So unless there's a piece attached to it that allows teachers, specifically in your 4th on up, to differentiate your needs of your Tier 3 students is very difficult, and more so with a master schedule. So just the learning of what differentiation looks like, and this blended approach has really helped teachers do their job.
I appreciate all of your work and your patience with my questions. I just, when I look at the number, I think we cut summer school to save $500,000, and this is $700,000. So that's one of my concerns. In addition to watching with my own kids how we add, even just in the past few years, we've added more tests that didn't exist in years before. So there's just a lot of time that they spend testing.
And just a question about you're right that you can do a diagnostic, but it's what you do with it when you get the data, and spending time on that end is really where you're going to see the change. And so just also thinking about nationally normed, I mean, we do have California standards that are not national standards, so there's kind of that, we're norming them against maybe something that doesn't align with what we're assessing in a different place. So we do have a variety of, if we have a national, certainly SAT, ACT, but at high school this is not really used for much but reclassification. So there could be different ways of looking at, do we need it at the high school level? As a diagnostic, I don't know, there's kind of been multiple reactions, so many teachers use that use the instructional modules for intervention, and that seems to make sense. But you have mentioned a lot, you have the IABs, and that might be something we look at as well for reclassification or something to that.
And just to add the IABs, We've backward mapped all the standards that would be on an IAB, so teachers really can connect the target language that comes from the CASP blueprints, so they can start making sense of the targets and the standards that are actually tested on these IABs. And then we're using a website called Achieve the Core, where we can backwards map these standards that are on these IABs to 4th, 3rd, 2nd, so we can really help teachers understand, like our tier 3 and tier 2 students are struggling on these IABs because they're as rigorous as the CASP. They're designed by the CASP. So that would just be another measurement as well. It would just be more data to add, which we do need to have data on our grade level standards. But the piece I think that we are working on is backwards mapping it and then connecting it to the iReady lessons that work on those missing standards in those previous grades, and having teachers add those lessons to specific students.
Madam President, can I make a brief segue for meeting extension to item 716? Madam President, I move that the board extend the meeting to 11:15.
That's less than 5 minutes an item. Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Vote.
It was the witching hour, wasn't it?
And that passes 5-0-0. Okay, we're gonna go move quickly. I'm just gonna make a suggestion. I think there are a lot of questions. Obviously the price is what's, in this triangle where, this is a 1-year contract. I guess we have a public comment we need to get as well. Or should we do that next? Do you wanna come down?
I appreciate you. I wasn't gonna let you get away now. Come in. Thank you for remembering me. First of all, one of my concerns is that I was at one of the districts not that long ago.
Sorry.
Who also are using this iReady program. So the question that I posed to one of the administrators is that how successful has this program been in addressing the needs of all the students? And so with that, I asked the question to Mount Daniel Unified School District. How successful, can they truly state that this program has been successful in addressing and meeting the educational needs of all the students in this district? And when you look at your latest California assessment scores from 2008, 17-18 school year, 18-19 school, or 17-18 school, you have the 3rd grade class. Now, the assessments, they don't use assessments on 1st grade, so this is new to me, or 2nd grade, so they start to 3rd grade. So when you look at Mount Diablo's 3rd grade, in terms of their components to it, and one of the components it says is reading, how well do students understand stories and information that they read? I'm talking about the African American subgroup. Now you have 79% of the 3rd graders did not understand the stories and information that they were reading. You had 90% of the 4th graders who did not understand the information that they were reading. The next component, I'm just doing the 3rd and 4th now. The next component is how well do students communicate in writing. The African American subgroup, 81% did not meet the state standards in terms of communicating in writing. In the 4th grade, 92% did not meet the state standards in terms of communicating in writing. So listen, going back to this iReady program, how successful has it been? And this is true throughout, from the 3rd to the 8th grade and the 11th grade. The other one is listening. How well do students understand spoken information? 79% of the third grade students, African American third grade subgroup, did not understand the spoken information. The fourth grade, 86% did not understand the spoken information, did not meet the needs. In the research and the how well do students find and present information about a topic, 81% of third grade students did not meet the state standards. 93% of the fourth grade students did not meet the state standards. And so I'm concerned about an I-rated program in terms of how successful has it been. If they've been here for 4 years or 3 years, whatever, does that show, or is that an example of success? You can get your assessment from the latest California State Assessment test. That's where the assessments come from. Now, the I-rated program takes the human being out of the whole teaching quagmire, period. So you're having computers that's teaching students, and so the teachers themselves are not really engaging, the students not being engaged by human beings at all. But the program itself, the I-rated program, if that's the program that you're using, has been a total failure. And I told the Pittsburgh Unified School District that too, not that long ago. They're using the same program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so again, I think there's lots of questions, but I also think there's a, that's just my personal opinion, a huge risk of just pulling the plug on something that's been, in process for a number of years and clearly, really immersed in our schools. So one thought we're asking for approval of a 1-year contract, and I think, this conversation could continue over this next year, and you did show us some data, and we do see some improvement. So I think just we're in a little different era now with, the price tag is jumping out at us a little bit stronger. So I think to continue to talk, have you come and share a report and throughout this next year, and then reevaluate after that. So that's my personal opinion. I'll entertain a motion or not.
No, it's already.
Oh, we got it. We have a first and a second.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, then we'll just vote. And that passes 4-1-0-0. Thank you. Okay, we are at 17.5, renewal of the Contra Costa Community College and Career Access Pathway Dual Enrollment Partnership Agreement for 2019-2020. This is for information. This is basically College Now, right?
College Now, and then we added 3 additional dual enrollment covered by the CCAP, our digital media course at Mount Diablo High School, and then a kinesiology course at College Park and Northgate.
So there's articulation agreements?
No, these are dual enrollment classes.
Dual enrollment,
So these are
okay.
college classes that will be
I
taught
see.
on the campus.
Oh, okay.
So there are 3 additional components to the CCAP that we added in addition to College Now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
On the college campus or the high school campus?
High school campus.
Okay.
Okay, great. We'll come back the next time I speak for it. Okay. All right, 17.6 is Health Science and Emergency Medicine course of study. 17.6.
He left.
He left. Yeah. Okay. This is also for information. So, board members have questions, they can direct them to Dr. Maya. 17.7 was pulled by staff. 17.8, sorry, jumping ahead of you guys. Renewal of the Contra Costa Community College for access, is that the same thing?
I think it's a mistake. I think it's just for info tonight and then action at the next meeting.
Oh, so 17.8 is a mistake. Thank you.
Now, is this one for classes on the college
This is the same thing, so I think this is.
Oh, it's just on their chart, okay.
Yeah. I think
Because we also have, kids can take classes on the college campus, correct?
Yes, so kids can opt, they get the special admit form signed by their counselor or VP, and they can take that classes after school on the college campus.
Okay, so that one we'll just say is pulled, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 17.9, Mount Diablo Unified School District Facilities Improvement Program, current facility funds, and proposed projects. So we have 2 cards on this as well. We have Mr. Ferrante first.
Good evening. So I looked at the background material and I saw that there was $51.17 million available. And then I looked and I saw that there was 51.167 projected expenditures. Now, in all of the years of bond oversight committees I've been on, we've always asked for a 10 to 15% contingency because stuff happens. And there is no contingency here. And this has me greatly concerned because where is the money going to come from if some sort of contingency should indeed arise? We've been incredibly lucky in 2010 in that we have had very little comebacks where, oh, hey, we didn't see this. This needs to be repaired. We didn't see this. This needs to be repaired. That's really uncommon. This year, I think, or for this bond, I think we've only had like 4 or 5%. That is just incredibly rare. There isn't even a 4 or 5% contingency in here. This makes me really uncomfortable. Where is that money going to come from? Should something like that raise its ugly head? Thank you.
It comes out of the chair's salary.
You can take all the zeros you want. It's all zeros.
And I can share that this item does show available funds until the next bond, but it is an informational item, so that can be something that we can take back to discuss the contingency as needed, and it may perhaps come from the bridge to the next bond.
So is this the report on that was the result of the facility master plan? Or is this just the amount of funding for those items? I'm confused as to where this fits into.
As I understand that it shows the proposed projects for 1920 and 2021 and in anticipation prior to Measure J.
So when the public meetings and the facility master plan committee was prioritizing the list of what items need to be done over the 10-year plan and then what needs to be done first, did this come from that?
I don't believe so, no, and Rose Ramos can certainly answer that.
Okay.
This is previous to all of that.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
It is. This is just to address, there was a concern when Dale was here, we were issuing the first series of Measure J.
Yes.
And just to show that we have funds on hand to get us through the next 3 years until the Series B was issued. And so that's all this is. None of these projects have been approved, but it's just what we had in the works is if, we were to continue with the roofing plan and the painting plan prior to the facility master plan being done. We knew we had to do those things. So we just wanted to show that we do have money on hand to take care of those immediate need projects for the next 3 years. That's it.
I see those, I just see that Measure J it's been decided that the Measure J initial funds would be technology infrastructure?
It's not been decided. It's on the agenda for a few, it's gonna come up in the next 2 items.
So you're just showing how much money is
Right.
available. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. We have a public comment card in this as well, Mr. Rams.
Yes, I was looking at your staff report, and I know that earlier today, or tonight, you had a lot of students come and complain about these fields. I don't recall them complaining too much about the track fields, but I heard them complain about swampy fields, the track fields, but the field itself is where the students are walking on. the runoff and the threat and danger caused to their lives and their health and safety. So we have the health and safety issue. So is any of these, are any of these funds designated to repair those fields that those students came to complain about to you? And I hope that you heard and did not forget what they stated. So if that's not in there, then it should be a problem for all of you who claim to represent the total community and all the students here. And so your first responsibility is to the students and their health and safety. So that issue should be addressed. And so I see it. I don't see it specific. I see running track replacement. But that's about it. But that's not what the students are complaining about. Complaining about potholes and everything else, especially at College Park. So can I get an answer, or is this going to be addressed?
Ignacia Valley High School track and football field is an all-weather field. The students are concerned about baseball and softball fields. Concord High School has a new baseball field.
One of this group of students came to complain about potholes in the ground.
Okay, so they had, Ignacia Valley High School did submit a Williams Act complaint, and that was addressed by staff who went out and fixed the potholes on the softball field. However, as you know, gophers and squirrels come back. So in the time that they did the work, we didn't use the right substance.
I know you did. I mean, but you put sand out there. Now, come on, now sand.
Well, I don't know what product the M&O used. So,
you know, I mean, you can't just cover up a gopher hole because it'll come back somewhere else. And I think that the students are concerned about their health and safety. This is what you folks need to be concerned about, making sure that is repaired. And in my understanding from talking to one of the staff members, that they filed many Williams complaints against that, and nothing has occurred.
And that's exactly why I was asking the question about whether Measure J funds, have been decided, because we were trying to determine how much of Measure J funding we needed for the next couple of years. And the thing that we said to the public as we knocked on doors asking them to support Measure J was that it was first and foremost for health and safety needs. So if that's a safety issue, I would think that should be one that comes up in our plan here somewhere. And I think that it did come up in facility master plan community meetings. It was one of many items, yes. So I think we need to get the results from the facility master plan, and that may be where it shows up.
I hope so, because the first and foremost is that the health and safety of the children is priority against all other issues.
Thank you.
Okay, again, that was for information. Did you want to? Okay. Do you have anything else you want to? Can you contribute to this enlightening us? Okay, come on.
I was sitting back. Good evening, everyone. I was sitting back there listening about Ignacia Valley High School field. We've done pretty much everything we possibly can. We're trapping, we're baiting, we're doing everything that we can do on the California Healthy School Act. So we're kind of limited to what we can do, and that's our biggest challenge. But we have staff members out there every day, backfilling holes and following up every day doing this. It's an ongoing thing at all our sites, a lot of our sites, with the gophers and ground squirrels, those type of things. So we are working diligently on trying to address this. I had to say that. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And that's where another larger plan with some
Yes.
funding would come in.
So I mean, they were looking for the artificial.
The artificial
right,
turf,
yeah, which is a project, right, as opposed to just repairing something holes. So yeah, okay. All right. Wait, bye. Good night. Good night. Home safely. 17.10, right? Okay. Retention of 3 firms for the architectural services pool in response to request for qualifications number 1815. And this is on for action.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 17.10, retention of 3 firms for architectural services.
Second.
we have first and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to vote, or any further comments, go ahead.
I just have a question. How will you prioritize which firm gets which particular contract, or do they have a speciality? Rotation basis, whatever.
Yeah, some do, and then we'll just determine that as project by project.
I also have to say this is an expansion which our departments have been working on in many different areas, expanding vendors and bidders.
Was there also a similar pool for construction management?
Yes, we're not quite done with that review though.
So that would come in?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, that passes 5-0-0-0, thank you. And, we are on 1711, Technology Infrastructure Improvement Project Plan for Information. Come back. Any questions anybody would like to ask tonight? Okay, so we'll move on to.
So I just wanted to make a comment that this would include the first $20 million that we are of Measure J funds that we were putting in for sale.
There would be no more Measure J funds for 2 more years to do any of the other projects that possibly been identified through the Facility Master Plan project? Is that correct?
Is that an accurate statement?
But we have those other funds available, which we did show in that previous report, which is why we wanted to show you we have that. If you'll take out the 20, you have the 31 million left to take on other projects. That's why we I'm sorry.
So the two, please Rose.
Yeah.
So the last item that we had the list of things: roofing, painting, fields, tracks, those kind of things, health and safety. And then now this is the next round. And is it correct that that would then limit until the next sale?
Correct.
And what would that time period be?
That would be the next available funds for Measure J would be in 2020-23. However, in 21-22, we're slated to issue the next series of COPs. When we restructured Measure A, we said that then we would position ourselves to every 2 years issue 10 million in COP funds. Plus we get health and safety money, approximately about $1 million a year from that. So we have another source coming in. And so that's what this report was intended to provide, to show you that we do have a source of cash flow coming in to take on some of these projects. And it doesn't have to be the roof and painting. We just wanted to put it out there that we had proposed a plan to replace our roofs, because we know we need roofs district-wide. Without the facility master plan, we need that.
So moving forward, could we have, and I believe it exists within the facility master plan, a list that regardless of source kind of goes in chronological order? Because I'm kind of hearing that there's a desire to see what is going to happen generally in order regardless of the different funding sources.
Yes. And
would that help?
Right, basically the list of priorities that came out of that whole year-long process. And what are the highest priority safety issues?
And then we could list in, this one is with this fund, this is our routine, this is this, but it will address some of the things, especially for the community.
Correct. And we'll go in more detail on that at the workshop on the facility master plan that's coming up. So yeah, that's
where
yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
But I just do want to share that on the technology needs that's in the PowerPoint here, it does discuss that the Wi-Fi, which is 20.5 million, is infrastructure for all of our school sites. That will be critical for all of our future work of students and faculty members.
Yeah, that's correct. And if you recall in Measure C, the 2010 Measure C, there were a variety of things that were not funded. And I'm sure all of you get a lot of feedback from the schools Multi-use rooms were not included in our infrastructure upgrades. Administrative offices and teacher lounges were not included. There's common areas at the schools that needed poles for wireless access points for student collaboration use that were not included. And more importantly, probably one of the biggest requests that we've gotten is creating an infrastructure in parking lots. I'm calling them MDFs. People would go, well, that's a main distributionary frame. But that is put in that because some future board, maybe this board, some future leadership here is going to be asked whether they want to give access to police departments and other agencies to cameras. For instance, police departments in many municipalities have access to school cameras. When they're rolling up to the scene, when our own security department's rolling up to a scene, sometimes they want to know what's going on there. And we've had incidents in the past where our own security department has come up and there were thieves that were still there. So these are things that are going to be debated in the future. This infrastructure in the parking lot will give you the flexibility whether you want to, how much you want to give outside agencies access to, and it'll give us coverage for things like cameras in parking lots.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, now we're going on to, again, as for information 17.12, award of bid number 1840, building demolition and pad prep food service warehouse to Anthem Builders Incorporated.
Madam President, I move that we approve item 17.12.
Second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and there's no other discussion. We'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, 17.13. Award of bid number 1841, hardscape improvements at various sites, summer 2019 to DRT Grading and Paving Incorporated.
I make a motion we approve the award bid number 1841 for hardscape improvements at various sites.
Second. We have a first and a second. If there's no more discussion, we'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. 17.14, award of bid number 1842, hardscape improvements at Concord High School to DRT Paving and Grading Incorporated.
Madam President, I move that the board approve bid 1842 hardscape improvements at Concord High School.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. If there's no more discussion, we'll go to the vote.
One question, why is part of the funding from CTIC?
Yeah. It's the auto shop.
Oh,
We're
okay.
doing the auto shop.
That's fine.
And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Um, 17.15, purchase of materials from the Garland Company Incorporated for 2019 summer roofing program.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 17.15.
Second that.
And we have a first and a second. Any questions? Further discussion?
I
Yes.
filled out a card on that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you did. I apologize.
Good evening again. So I looked at this item and I looked at item 1333 and I said, wow, these two are pretty much the same type of project. Why is one in consent and one is in business? So now you understand fully why it is I made the request I did on those items under the consent agenda. Again, going forward, I think all bond-related funding should be in the business agenda. Thank you.
Duly noted.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. And we already had extension, we did that, and we do have some things to sign, I think. Sure.